Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. I'm Ravi, Lulla. That's DB. We got Cam with us today producing.
Morning, boys.
Live from the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill on the Pillar Exterior stage.
Duck Dizzle, K-Bizzle.
You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, streaming live as always, as soon as DB retweets those out.
Wait, is that what I'm supposed to do? I first have to say good morning. Cam, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm feeling great.
All right. You have one of the coolest names in America, so I like to say it out loud, even though for how many years will I just say KB?
For many years.
Probably a lot.
Well, it rhymes, so it's really fun to say.
So I forgot that the little man, Little Pocket Hercules, wasn't going to be here this morning.
Yep.
But yesterday, or the day before yesterday, he said, "Hey, Demon." He's like, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna be gone tomorrow. I won't see you until Monday."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, it didn't even register.
Or Tuesday. He's got Monday.
Yeah. So I see K-Bizzle's vehicle in the deal, and in my head, I didn't even think it was Cam. I was like, where's Shane?
Yeah,
Then I
Shane's
come
late today.
Then I come in, and my greatest sense is my smell.
Mm-hmm.
My olfactory nerves are pretty okay. Can't see worth the damn, but I can friggin' smell like a bloodhound. I said, "Oh, Cam, welcome back. How are the buttons treating you over there already, buddy?"
Fantastic.
I'm glad that you can ease into it because I'm sure he's a little stressed. He's like, "Oh my God, I forgot kind of how to do this." There's a lot going on
There
back
is a
there
lot going on
in this
back
little birdhouse with $10,000 worth of
Got to
equipment.
roll the sleeves up,
Look
guys.
at-
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen,
I wanted to. It's like co-hosting or doing a broadcast. You want to make the other person feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Cam, no matter what happens.
Is that what I'm supposed to be doing here? Make you feel comfortable?
As long, yeah. It's kind of. You're like, yeah. What is that?
I have failed
You're
miserably.
being other-centered. Not a chance. Not in my circle. I'm Ravi.
I'm a bird to the ground.
So Cam, you just do you. All right. That was a great open. We heard, and
I'm on top of things today, guys. It's
but
Friday.
I just want you to know, man, you're loved. You're loved.
We appreciate Cam
Be
being
like
here.
that. That's a soft landing.
It was a soft landing, and then you really kind of nailed it into the ground.
What
there.
happened? But you missed that. That opening was sweet. See the highlights? It's like, oh my God, I can't believe the Clippers got pretty much a must-win against Denver.
So I'm. Can I say
I heard it, Cam. I don't know what everybody else is doing. I heard the open.
That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. That's
dude.
Cam in a little Snoopy house full of lots of complicated equipment. When I say all these places where we're either on the air or streaming, Shane usually, and then Cam when he's in has to deal with all of that.
Yeah.
So this is not like a regular fill-in producer
They
situation.
have kind of flopped roles.
So it's a tricky endeavor. So we appreciate Cam.
So should I be
being here for
retweeted?
us. Yeah, you should retweet the stuff so people can see it because we're gonna have a good show today.
Oh,
I think so. At least I'm excited about it.
it's exciting.
I'm excited. I think we're still waiting on a lineup tweet as well, but that's okay.
Hey, so who's okay? So sometimes, and I saw her yesterday leaving Lincoln, and I meant to ask her, but I forgot when I saw Sasha, and it was late. It was like 12:30.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what are you doing here? And I forgot. She actually does the real work. It's post practice audio and stuff like that.
She does. Yeah, she does the media work.
The stuff that I couldn't care less about. Right? I just you watch practice again. So I meant to ask her, whose responsibility is that?
It's unclear. I think she normally does it, but I think it gets scheduled sometime. I don't know. I don't know how all the fancy stuff works.
Yeah, I can't even figure out when she should be on the 3-person group combo and when it's just me, you, and Shane.
Yeah, I don't either.
So
I usually just text you and then figure it out from there.
Yeah, that's probably safe, except for if we need anything hard except for the show content.
Neither one of
us can do that.
Neither one of us are coming up with anything except content.
I feel like we're kind of
I put the headset on, and if anything else doesn't work, we are in trouble.
Yeah, who do I call?
You're like, Sasha, help.
Yeah,
or
somebody.
Shane, help.
Yeah, I'm just looking for graphics. Links.
We've got Nick Bahe coming up at 8:00. We're gonna do a little Final Four this weekend.
Little Final Four.
A lot going on this weekend, or a lot going on yesterday. Got Final Four coming up this weekend. Got women's Final Four tonight. Little Caitlin Clark and Paige Becker's going on tonight. That's a nice Friday night matchup for you. Coming up at 9, we've got Mike Sautter. 9:45. We will wrap up the week as we always do with our guy Matt Vrzal, who I believe is still alive after his endeavor to Chicago.
Oh yeah. Maddie's alive and kicking.
Still doing well. So
Yeah.
we will wrap up the show with Verz as we always do. But want to get to where we both were last night, the Jet Awards Gala. A terrific evening. I had a great time. I know you had less of a good time, but that's that's a DB thing.
Hey, yeah, we pulled it off.
Well, so DB's the MC, so I'm just there having a good time, right? I'm there. I have zero responsibilities. I had a very unique position amongst the Hurrdat team, right? Because you're MCing. Sasha, Gorman, Marissa, Anna, Brandon, they're all working, like getting content, interviewing people. Brandon's running the cameras. And I'm just milling about, grabbing drinks and glad handing, basically. Which is, to be fair, my sweet spot.
Oh boy.
That's where I thrive. So
yeah.
while everybody else is doing real work, I'm just like, hey, I'm Ravi. I work at Hurrdat. Which I enjoyed immensely. So I had a good time.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun.
Sitting with the enemy.
Who's
although he's such a good egg.
I didn't actually sit with him. I was standing with him.
Fraternizing for the first hour.
To be fair,
I had to come say hi to him though. I love that guy.
He was my co-host before you.
Yeah,
were.
and he's that's my dude, man.
No, we're both big fans. But
how about his delivery? You think I'm sarcastic, or you're sarcastic?
He's real dry.
I never even know if he's being serious.
Yeah, it takes a minute to figure out.
It's like,
I'll be honest.
Wait a minute.
To be fair, he's not serious a lot.
Is he joking? I think he's kidding.
Although I think people think that about you too.
Yeah,
hard to figure out.
I know
if you're being real.
But mine is intentional.
Yeah, you're intentionally being.
Yeah, I just can't. I just don't like being boxed in.
You're like, can't pin me down.
Yep. I'm taking too many body shots.
But it was a super cool night. Obviously, our guy Michael Severe runs that whole thing. It was, it's different for you because you've been in a lot of rooms like that before, right? It's still a fairly new experience for me. I went to the Outland a few years ago, which I had a really good time at. But so I'm in a room with Johnny Rogers, with Tom Osborne, with Matt Rule. I'm in a room with these people who are these huge figures, right? In not only what we do, but the state in general. And
how about the dignitaries?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, you've got the governors there, you got senators there, you got mayor there, you've got probably 10 of the 12 richest people in Omaha, not named Warren Buffett, right? Like you've got really important people all around you. And then there's just me hanging out, having a good time. Like it's a little, I don't want to say it's imposter syndrome, but I appreciate how cool of an experience it is because it's still new for me.
Yeah. And
being in that room is just like, man, this is a pretty cool deal.
Yeah. So it's events like that and like the pre-stuff and them agreeing to come do it where I get to meet people on different levels, which is why I may not have the same angst or animosity as other people about those people with how they do their jobs, right? Because I can say to myself, like I'm judging them on how they treat me,
right?
Like whether it's politics aside, policy aside, whatever. It's like if they're good to me and they go out of their way to help us out for the greater good, I'm cool. You know what I mean? I don't have to think like you. You don't have to think like me, but because you're kind of other-centered and unselfish with your time, which is the one thing that people want to give the least. Yeah. I'm cool.
And it's the most valuable thing you can give. When you're in a position like that, whether it's Coach Rule, whether it's the governor, whoever, right?
Yeah, and he's actually low-key funny.
Coach Rule?
Governor Pillen. Yeah.
I haven't had a full conversation.
Like I like Rick, like no, it doesn't bother me.
So and like I think a lot of people do get hung up on ideological differences, right? And listen, I'm not asking you to vote for a guy, right? Vote for whoever you want for. Like you believe what you believe, that's fine. And I understand in today's landscape, some people really are just like disingenuous about how they present themselves.
Yeah.
But like the governor doesn't have to be there last night. He doesn't.
And that's where those sports worlds collide.
Yeah.
Right. Because at the end of the day,
he's invested,
and they're fans.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Like he probably, there's a part of him, even though he played.
Yeah.
He's the governor. He's got access to people I don't have access to. There's probably a part of him that's not too dissimilar for me. That's like, man, it's really cool to be in a room with all these people.
Yep. 100%.
Right. And listen, again, you can put all politics aside. I thought Pillen handled the Trev and the Board of Regents thing well. I thought that was a place where, even if I didn't necessarily think he should be involved, help get the Dannon thing done, help get the Dr. Gold thing done. Like,
hey, how button up is Dr. Gold?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like that was and at the end of the day, last night was about scholarship money for trade skills at Metropolitan Community College.
Yeah, 100%.
And if you can get on board with that, we've at least got something in common to start from, right? Like I think the mistake people make a lot of the times is, hey, I disagree with you on A, B, and C, means I can't agree with you on anything.
So that's totally my MO.
Find some common ground.
Even though I may not always like what you say, there's probably something.
Yeah.
An article. You know what I mean? Like,
and if you can get on board with the Jet Award and their mission,
I may be able to learn something along the way.
Then there's at least one thing you and I can agree on.
Yeah.
Because when Michael filled in last week, we talked about how important that skill is, especially student loans going crazy. And, it's getting harder for people to justify going to a 4-year college in some instances.
And how about how when you actually need something that 85% of us can't do, and
those are the people that do it.
Those are the people we need. And it's been so hard to find folks readily available because even that industry is kind of stressed out. Right?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge valuable service that the Jet Award provides. And so that's a super cool part of it. And then you just have the sports part of it, which is a ton of fun. Obviously, Zachariah Branch was the Jet Award winner from USC.
So he's only the second award winner that we have not had in attendance.
Which I get. He's got spring practice.
Come on, Lincoln.
Running track as well. Do maybe need to have a little word with our guy Lincoln Riley. Be like, hey, it's a Big Ten thing now. All right.
Yeah.
Button up.
Yeah. He did share a video, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. It seemed like it meant a lot to him, even though he couldn't be there. So, maybe he'll be the first repeat winner and come on back next year. But it's super cool to have Zachariah Branch as the winner. And then my guy as the first ever Jet Award Mr. Football.
Hey, how about him winning it in a year that he won it?
Anthony Rizak.
Yeah, did you see what they called the Fab Five down the stretch in the voting? It was some dudes.
Yeah, so it was he beat out your son, Caleb. He beat out Carter Nelson. I don't remember who the other two were.
The finalists, and it's gonna escape me, but because I referenced it last night and now I'm drawing a blank. But anyway,
it was an incredible group, all Power 5 guys,
highly competitive
group, and he was deserving. I mean, I have no qualms about. I mean, everybody knows I'm a Anthony Rizak guy, but how about
his poise at the podium too?
No, he was really good.
See, that's a microcosm of him controlling a huddle.
And we'll get to that with some of the guys that are at Nebraska in a minute here. But how about kind of him winning that award?
Yeah.
Amongst that group of players.
Yeah.
With Coach Rule in attendance.
Yeah. Their tables are next to each other.
Yeah, sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that's going to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm. And remember the whole Teddy thing.
And just did not get a lot of love from Nebraska.
Yeah.
Like, you just kind of wonder if and he probably not, because Coach Rule is super like self-assured and it's like, hey, this is what we're doing this. But I can't help but notice that some of the recruiting support staff got changed. Just a casual observation. People that I know for a fact were involved, air quotes, with Anthony's recruitment, air quotes, at Nebraska. I'm just saying, there's maybe you'd like to have that one back.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, this isn't the time. I mean, they've moved on for both going to Notre Dame and hopefully having a really good career. But remember, this whole thing started by Coach Rule saying what happened with Teddy's recruitment won't happen again on his watch. So,
and I think you could just shift that over to Anthony as well.
Yeah, and was that you that said, "Well, I'm glad at least they styled their hair different tonight"?
Maybe I don't remember.
Would I say almost darn near identical?
No, they literally
are.
The only reason I could tell the difference between the two of them, and I meant to introduce myself to Anthony because I talk about a lot on the radio, and it's probably weird that a guy twice his age talks about him as much as I do. But I was talking to his dad, so we're cool. And I met his mom, Lisa, last night. So
That's the backbone. The nicest person for sure in the state, maybe in the world.
She's super sweet. But the only way I could tell the difference between the two is because Anthony had the statue he was carrying around. Otherwise, I would not have been able to tell the two apart.
Man,
and you spend every day with them.
Yeah, so for me, it's pretty easy, and their personalities are very different. Teddy is a little more. I say mean spirited, but it's not. He's just
got the edge on him.
Yeah, he's a lot more business.
Which you can get away with on the defensive side of the ball versus quarterback. Yeah, it's hard to have that. Like you need a little bit more poise, composure.
And I just thought it was cool because not only is it the first ever, but like Shaq Harris was in attendance, who obviously is the.
I will say that's the thing that impressed me most about Anthony last night is him talking about how he was getting on Skype calls with Shaq Harris and with Doug Williams and with Coach Reed, and like figuring out because there's no reason for
you want the historical context of why we started the award,
right? Like, and it's named after Marlon Briscoe, right? The first black man to ever get quarterback starts in the NFL, and then Shaq Harris, who was the first full-time black starter in the NFL at quarterback, who actually ended up giving him the award. But it was super cool to hear him talk about how he went through this process of learning what Marlon Briscoe meant. Because he's a, 18-year-old kid,
right?
Has no reason to really know who Marlon Briscoe was, right? But the fact that he cared enough to find out and spend that time, what we were just talking about, the most valuable thing people can give you is their time. Spend that time with Shaq Harris and Doug Williams and Coach Reed to figure out what this thing actually meant that he was getting I was super impressed by that.
Yeah, I was joking around with Mike Rozier, who, for the most part, he was very subdued.
He was real low key,
wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's just funny to hear a guy on the national level that played at Nebraska that gets these coaches in the room. He's like, man, you Nebraska boys are trying to do it, aren't you? And I was like, all right, Mr. Camden, like, what is that supposed to mean? But it's just cool that the guys of that stature and that magnitude, in that moment, they were able to soak it all in. But it's a fantastic event, and it continues to grow.
Yeah, was almost 900 people there last night.
Yeah,
just a terrific showing, and like I said, I had a super fun time. Again, I didn't have any responsibilities, so that helps.
Yeah, I'm glad it's over. See you next year.
I was gonna say you're gonna feel about how much you dreaded it coming up to it, and you're gonna do it all over again next year anyway.
Well, I didn't get home yesterday until 1:15.
Really?
Maybe on the dot, because he had a 1:30. We were supposed to stop at a nutrition place, and then.
You mean in the afternoon?
Yes.
Okay, I was like, man, that thing wrapped up at 8:45. What are you talking about?
9:21, the garage opens.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Coach Amaji, those guys were like, it's because they didn't eat, right? Yeah. It just, it's you're serving people in bulk, like it's hard, and I think a lot of the big guys, coaching staff, they wanted to go eat after, and
I'm like,
and we have to turn around and be in Lincoln this morning, for the clinic, which is speaking of 900 coaches in attendance for Nebraska's coaches clinic. I'm like, I need to shut her down.
Yeah,
but I didn't. No, I watched television.
Of course you did.
Well, it's hard to ramp down, and I was hungry, but my window closed.
Yeah.
So you see how long I waited to just take my vitamins? It's because I know it's going to make me queasy and it's going to quell my appetite.
Oh, there you go.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, a little bit.
but I know what works for me. Like I waited till late because usually I come in here and I'm a little roller coaster ish,
Mhm.
and then I have to manage like the first 10 minutes. So I waited till we were about 20 minutes in before I took them, so it'll suppress my appetite. I know it's dumb. Just don't mind me.
The things I got to deal with over here on the.
I'm pretty weird, man. Pretty weird.
But no, it was a super fun night. Really appreciate Michael Severe and the Jet Foundation for having the whole Hurrdat Sports crew out, or a lot of them at least, and of course letting our guy DB. Well, I don't know if letting, but making our guy DB MC the event. He's one of those people that'll like he'll put your arm behind your back and make you submit.
Yeah. So do you know how the whole thing came about? He said, "Hey, got your script for this year's Jet Awards." That's how it went last year. I was like, "Oh, cool." Usually I'm just on the voting panel and I kind of hobnob and I hang on, and people think I had more to do with it than I really did.
Yeah.
And I said the word MC, which is coincidentally the first time I learned how to spell it correctly.
Yeah, it's EMCE.
Correct, because
Yeah.
I saw it in print.
Yep.
It said MC, and then I was like, "Oh, who's that guy?" Is that what I'm doing? I had to pick up the phone.
Well, MC Hammer probably threw you off a little bit.
Too legit, but not to quit. I can tell you that. I'm out.
Yeah, see, that's the role that I'm trying to take over, the one that you used to have. Just kind of mill around. People think I got more to do with it than I have to.
Hey, knock yourself out. We're going in opposite directions. I'm on the downside. You're like the Jeffersons.
Moving on up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It was QB day down at the Pressers down in Lincoln yesterday.
Yeah.
So we got everybody from Coach Sat to Glenn Thomas to all three scholarship QBs, Heinrich Harburg, Danny Kalen, and, of course, Dylan Raiola. So we'll get into a little bit of that as well. We will get into some of their comments. And, I don't know if we learned anything or not yesterday, but we'll
from audio.
Yeah,
I agree.
But I will. Well, there is one thing I want to get to, and we'll hold it for the next break. But there's one thing that Dylan said yesterday, and he kind of mentioned it a couple times throughout his thing that I was like, I think I like that. I know I like it, but I think it matters. So we'll get into that here.
Yeah, color me curious.
In just a second. You can get a hold of us, 888-638-4876 if you want to be a part of the show. You can also hit us up on Twitter. He's at Damon Benning. I'm at R.A. Lulla. We will have a little bit of Nebraska football practice talk coming up next.
We got a coach of the year. We got 3-point shooting contest.
Yeah, apparently Keisei Tominaga set the internet on fire again yesterday, which we love to see. I'm sure DB was cringing a little bit.
No, like that's perfect.
That is kind of the perfect venue for Keisei.
That's perfect.
Like that event is like a perfect Keisei event.
Yep, and he showed why he embraces the moment.
Killed it.
Yeah.
That's Cam. That's DB. I'm Ravi. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as well. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill on the Pillar Exterior stage. Wanted to get into a little tease I had. That's what they call it in the business.
Is that right?
Such
a professional.
Well, people tell me. I don't really know. I mentioned something that Dylan Raiola said that kind of caught my attention a little bit in the pressers yesterday, because I thought for the most part we didn't get a lot of meat on the bone. It was more about how the guys carried themselves for the quarterbacks than it was the actual content of what they were saying, with the exception, although this kind of crosses both of those lines here, of something that Dylan mentioned a couple times when asked about the work that he's putting in so far this season. And his answer to one of them was he was asked about the early morning throwing sessions. And his answer was essentially, it goes to show you how much the receivers care about getting the extra work in. And he says, anytime my guys want to go throw, I'm going to show up for them. And the reason that caught me is most of the time when people are asked about the extra work they put in, athletes, whatever, it's, I'm just trying to be the best I can be. It's like they kind of give you the I'm a grinder answer, right? I thought it was interesting that he deflected that off of himself entirely and was like, oh man, the receivers are so dedicated to getting better and getting work in. Like, is that something, or is that a nothing burger?
No, it's not a nothing burger. I think the way that he answered the question, especially now, being around him, and a lot of it is, and I said this to his parents yesterday because I was by myself for a good hour 30 yesterday after practice, which is what took so long because there was a whole another set of stuff that you have to do as an incoming student athlete where I just was kind of waiting around. So they kind of moseyed in and just grabbing a coffee, and we stopped and talked, and what was going on with Dayton and Dylan, and I said, hey, like just his personality and kind of how he's endeared himself. I said, you guys have done a fantastic job. And so they kind of were talking about the family dynamics and the way that they were talking, which is probably about 30 minutes before he took, probably 20 minutes before he took the podium, it made complete sense. So it's I think that's his personality.
Yeah,
I do. Like he just watching him carry himself with the guys, he's very he's very good at reading what's needed. Right? He pays attention to and he's malleable. Right? He can, if I need to get in here, I can do this. If this is what's needed, I can do this. Like he's very aware of when the room or that group or that thing needs his fingerprint. And I think that's pretty good at that age to be aware of your surroundings.
Because I'm very aware of the fact that obviously I want this to work out so that I might be allowing myself to be fooled if somebody's if somebody's good at it right now. But the reason, and I don't mean to pile on who's now your guy with like Russ Wilson, right? But everything he does,
not my guy. He plays for the Steelers.
I said kind of, like LeBron's your guy.
Yeah.
Everything Russ does, it feels like he's trying to say, look how hard I work, right there. And that's why it's so cringy to me. It's never like if he's working, you have to know about it.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas Raiola goes out of his way here to be like, no, that's the receivers, man. They're super dedicated. And he went that direction with the answer a couple times.
Yeah, I think so. So part of it is his personality. The other part of it is, and this is like, you wouldn't really know this, you can't really see, but as of right now, see, they're not the hardest working group, even though they get the most attention, because the hardest working group, at least the last couple of days, and it's kind of been that way, is the position group that his uncle has. Right. So I got to put this in perspective.
Yeah.
Right. You're the poster child, the face right now, but you have somebody in your family
who's working harder than you.
That you 100%.
Yeah.
And he's kind of he's the taskmaster.
Yeah.
Right. He can fill in the role.
He's bad cop.
Family wise, that his mom and dad aren't going to do. Right. Dom said it best yesterday. Again, I'm taking notes, right? I'm just watching. I'm asking questions about distance. Would you rather be further away? Would you rather be closer? All this kind of stuff, right? And he says, you know what? You can just sit back and watch now. Now we're fans.
Yeah.
And I was like, will I ever get to be that way? I think so, but maybe not as long as I'm working.
Yeah, I'll say when you're in coach brain, that's really hard. And when you do what we do,
but it was fascinating that he said that, and I kind of probably paused, and it was a little awkward silence, but I just soaked that in. I was like, okay, store that one in the Rolodex. But when you they were by far and away the first group out yesterday.
Yeah,
right, because we sat in meetings, and I didn't know actually what time. I thought practice started at 8:45, but you're told to be there at 7:45.
Yeah, so
that threw me for a loop, which is why I didn't call you yesterday.
That's all right.
So it's whatever. But then we're in meetings and Menner's got the defensive backs. And so, but that's obviously the room we wanted to go to because they're like, hey, you need to get in meetings.
Yeah, for sure.
I was like, damn. And I didn't want to be in there. So I was kind of I stood where Coach White and a couple of the other coaches were and because it's
hanging out.
because it's the DB room.
Yeah.
But Coach White and those guys are in there, and I think he wanted to hear Menor too. And so, in over when we got out, like it's all O line. So and that's where the opening is from the weight room, and they're in that side of the end zone. So they're the first thing that you see, and everybody's out there. So I'm talking to Mac 10 or Menor, and he's kind of going through the size and the skill set and whatever. And a couple of the guys come over, coaches, support staff, and Mike is kind of like mesmerized by Donnie, and I've seen it just because, and plus I know his personality. Yeah. Right. Like the dude's got, he stays on. Yeah. But it was funny to hear the other staff talk about him. It's like Coach Raiola's got 2 gears. When he's at a 1, it's go time. And he's got a 5 that's get your ass in gear, and there's nothing in between. Yeah. He's the 0 to 100 guy. And it's real quick. Yeah. So when you see those guys working, it's his personality. He's in your family. It in your subconscious, it keeps you humble because you can always do better when you're watching that guy work. Yeah. And he's in your family. Yeah. Right. Not just in your locker room. Yeah. In your actual literal family. Yeah. Because they went through one-on-ones yesterday, and the line. Yeah, it raised it was fairly brisk yesterday morning. It raised the temp in my heart by about 15 degrees. I'm talking about they're getting after it. Yes. And it's 1v1. They're lined up mano-a-mano across the field. Yeah. Individual battles, all eyes on that one battle. Whistle, next guy, whistle, next guy, whistle, next guy, whistle, next guy, whistle, next guy. And depending on how long they like the drill, it was like, this may be a 4-second whistle. This may be an 8-second whistle. And I'm just telling you, it's like when people think that they can fight. When you're in one and after about 15 seconds, it feels like about 1:15. It's a lot longer than you think. That's how those battles work. And I think it just sets the tone. And the beautiful thing was, it's probably an hour in. Like it isn't like at the beginning, let's get lathered up. Nice and fresh, yeah. No, but you watch their pre-practice, you'd have thought it was practice. So I think that's one of those things that like keeps all of it fits with the personalities that we see, because he has a reverence as a person, respect, other-centered, good self-awareness, but he also knows a couple doors down, a lot of these dudes are getting it in. Like you can't be around Coach Barthel 5 seconds and not be on the gas. Like I left yesterday and I said, just talking to a couple of guys, and I go, it's weird. Like if I'm just going by feel over the last 20 years, it's a highly intense, like you feel the intensity, but guys are cool. Yeah. So it's like a good balance, which lets me know, you know what? They're not only are they embracing the competition, but they may like one another. Because that's the only way you can really do that. Oh yeah, to have that level of intensity and still be cool. Yeah, because otherwise it gets chippy in a hurry. And there's a lot to it. We'll get to more of that as we wrap up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as well. That's EB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Wanted to go ahead. Hey KB, play the clip, because sometimes people hear what they want to hear, right? And this isn't necessarily directed at Terry in our YouTube in our stream, but we've kind of gotten this over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years in the media, because we're a lot more protective when we're not having success. So sometimes if the media looks at clips or takes clips from the presser, it's like, oh man, leave them alone, stop parsing through every word, because people do that, right? They act like the words don't really matter. But just to give it context, to reset where we're getting ready to go here with the O-line and why you liked what Raiola said, KB, play that clip. Play it talking about his wide receivers. Raiola talking about his wide receivers. For me, please.
Yeah, I think that goes to show how dedicated the receivers are. They want to get in work, and I always show up for my guys if they want to get in work. So it was a lot of fun. Some days were rough. I'm not gonna lie to you, but we got it in, and I like where we're at in the spring.
All right. See, that's not parsing. That's
No.
not picking on a kid. That's setting the context for
Yeah.
an 18-year-old. And he was honest too.
Yeah.
Because you got the part where he said,
"Oh man, sometimes
it's tough.
Sometimes a little rough.
Yeah.
Waking up early."
And so, and it's one of the cool things that I get excited, like hearing it in its context again, is I was talking to a couple of the running backs yesterday, leaving, and I wore the shirt, right? Like it's like
Keep showing up.
Yeah. Like just keep showing up, because 30% of people will quit before it even gets to a breaking point. It's their breaking point. The next 20 will contemplate it. The next 30 will endure it. The remaining will thrive in it. Be a thriver.
Yeah.
Right?
Or at least give yourself an opportunity.
Like be a thriver. Just okay, hey, another day. Who am I gonna pass up? Who's not gonna hang in there?
Yeah.
Like that's opportunity for me. Like just keep showing up.
Half the time, if you just keep showing up, you'll end up in a position you want to be in just because everybody else stopped.
Yeah, it's like I looked at Justin Evans yesterday, because I think, and this isn't official, so if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think he's just Justin Evans now. He's not Justin Evans Jenkins, but
okay.
I just looked at like his frame, and because that's one of the first things that I look at with the bigs. I was looking at Teddy and some of these guys, and I'm like, wow, like this is a trim bunch. And when
Teddy looks a little bit more like Bryce now.
Teddy looks fantastic.
Yeah,
they all do. But I'm looking at Justin, because he was one of the guys that had my attention early, and then over time, he kind of got exposed. Isn't the word, but you just knew like he wasn't quite ready. He just was getting his feet wet. He's very good in small doses.
You like?
Yeah, kind of like me, right? Like good in small doses. No, I'm talking about as a runner.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how sustainable it would have been over like a 10 or 12 game thing, because I hadn't been there before.
Yeah.
Right. So it's easy.
And there's a difference.
Yeah. Right? And I always tell people it's easier to spell the man than to be the man. Like I'm pretty honest about that. So when I'm watching, he's one of the guys that I wanted to see. I'm like, is he the mean?
Can he bring that? Is he snap?
Yeah. Is he the mean, good player that I think he could be? Because it was up and down last year.
Yeah.
So I just watched him yesterday, and I'm watching these other guys, and I'm like, there's definitely a standard. And I wonder if the standard is going to be set by those guys, because if it is and this is just what I believe, because I'm watching both groups closest to the ball. If your tempo and your tone needs to be set by people that are closest to the ball, and if now there are outliers, right? You can get a Mike Minner, you can get a Mike Brown, but even Mike Brown had an incredible D line, right? But usually you stand a chance to be better. So with their depth along the front of both fronts,
I'll say both sides,
man, they can flat out get after it. So if I'm a running back, or I'm a wide receiver, or I'm a tight end, and I'm a DB or a linebacker, and I'm watching these guys
get after it.
Yeah, come on, man. Like there's a reason that Isaac Gifford acts like a D lineman.
Yeah.
Oh,
so the way he's wired.
No, I am a little biased.
Okay.
Right? But at least I'm biased for a good reason.
Yeah.
He kicked our tail in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And he let me know that he kicked our tail. And I kind of liked it. I'm like, you know what? You competitive son of a gun. We'll give it to you again the second time.
Yeah.
No, that didn't happen. But anyway.
It's a good idea, Lo.
It carried over.
Yeah.
And it's like, if they can get there, I don't know about like wins and losses, but I do know
they're going to be better off.
If that competitive it's kind of nasty. And I'm watching old guys get into young guys by putting their arm around them. Now they're getting in their bunda.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey man, we do it like I like that because I want to see how that manifests itself over time.
Yeah, and I think when you brought up how good each of these guys looks, just their conditioning and how good.
And I'm far from a
sure,
but you can tell work.
But I will say, one of the things that we always look for, why are there always mental errors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why are there always these mental mistakes and procedural penalties, and we screw up in the most inopportune time? Well, when's the most inopportune time, right? Usually late and tight, which is where you are your most fatigued, right? The first thing to go when you start to get tired, it's not your body, it's your focus.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Right? So maybe the simple answer to all of this is that guys haven't been in good enough shape for the last 10 years. Maybe that's why we see all the mental errors.
Yeah, I was listening to...
because if your body starts to not feel right, your head goes fast.
Just having this conversation about... because I was with Mike a lot early because, that was my roommate in Carolina. Like, we used to be really, really close. So it was good to... we were talking about Campbell and Coach... him being his time at Campbell, not Coach Campbell, even though we're going to get to Coach Campbell here in this conversation. So Coach Rule is coming out behind us, and they're talking like they're just kind of going back and forth. And Mike was a guy that was he's big barrel chested guy, even though he's a little guy. And so looking the part was always important to Mike. Like anybody that's played with him, ask Vila, ask any of those guys, right? Like looking the part was important. And we're getting a tour of how some of the weights work, and Coach Campbell and Kristen, who's the nutritionist, who everybody loves, arguably their two best employees. And Coach Rule said, it's a little different. We wanted to bring back some of the bench pressing components and, upper body strength and how we kind of do it and Mike cut him off. He goes, there's something that breeds confidence when you're strong. And Coach Rule, he's like, yes, like I want my guys looking, I want them yoked. And I'm telling you,
look at the guys he had at Baylor.
So the greatest thing ever, there were a couple of other coaches in attendance, fresh off of coming back from, I'm not going to say the school, a school in the Big 12. They'd gone to a clinic. And the first thing, now it's objective, right? Because there's no skin in the game. The very first thing that was said, boy, on the hoof, this is a much bigger team than we saw 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, some of these guys and, taking your vitamins and the calorie count and eating, or talking to a guy like Jalen Lloyd in the off season, and I joke with him, hey, are you getting that to go bag? Are you getting that to go bag?
Yeah.
Because there's a method to the madness.
And Jalen Lloyd's a great example, right? Because that's a dude that if he loses even a quarter of a step, loses a ton of his value to that football team, right? But you still need him to look like a football player, not a track star.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's a great example because we heard this with Frost, right? We heard about, we got to get bigger. We got to look like a Big Ten team. We got to get bigger. But they did that at the sacrifice of being able to move still.
Yeah, I just thought it was
right.
Not hee ha ha, but I thought it was, especially on the heels of what you just said, because you have no idea what that we're going here at this about the confidence and being like, they totally vibed over the emotional confidence. And so I started thinking about, we'd have these conversations about self-esteem and feeling good about yourself. And I would talk about Maslow's hierarchy as it kind of like relates to sports. Like why this no fear of failure. This was the whole narrative a handful of years ago. And I remember saying to myself, you know what? It's interesting. Like if you don't feel good about the way you look, you don't demand very much of yourself. No. Right? Like, and so the counter, the antithesis of that, or on the other end, if you do like the way you look, you typically want to set a standard for those around you.
That's why I like wearing suits. Feel good about the way I look. I become a better version of myself.
Interesting.
Because I feel good about how I look.
Yeah. So just to see them vibe over that, and it's something I should know, But I don't pay attention to it and think of it like that. I would say something like, "Oh man, there's something about being in better shape than your opponent that wears on them. Like it takes their soul."
No, but there's a mental part.
They're taking it one step further. Yeah, if I feel strong and I look strong,
I'm going to impose my will on other people.
100%.
And there's two things there, right? A, your focus is easier to maintain when you're not tired or when you feel good. B, that work lets you know you can still perform at a high level even when you're tired.
100%.
We've got more. We've got Nick Bahe coming up next year on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube from the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We're on the Pillar Exterior stage. That's TV. I'm Ravi, Lulla. We were getting into a conversation about strength and conditioning, but really about kind of the attitude, the mentality of those players closest to the line of scrimmage, the line. It started with a conversation about Dylan Raiola, then into Donovan Raiola. And one of the most interesting things I think about Donovan Raiola, Donnie, is, because you keep asking this question, how much do we trust Coach Rule?
Mm-hmm.
How much do we trust Coach Rule?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the narrative when he?
Oh yeah, 100%. And
it's easy to forget.
Yeah, I was in this studio when I said, "Hey, listen, number one, the players wanted him."
Yes.
Okay, that was number one. Like you could get a vibe. And number two, and I said this out loud, you got to remember, Coach Sat and Coach Rule basically came with the idea of those first interviews was to get rid of Coach Raiola.
Yeah.
After a little bit of time into the conversation, Coach Rule, and I think he said this out loud on the pressers. He's like, "Oh no, we need this guy."
Do you remember the other thing he said when talked about retaining Donovan? Is that he just kept coming to work.
Yeah.
The other guys didn't do that.
Oh my gosh.
He just kept coming.
I can't believe
work.
you brought that up. I like the behind the scenes stuff, right? Because I think it's important because it's so key.
And
right?
that's where, the real stuff happens.
Right. Coach Osborne was great. So some of that staff was really good. But the support staff, the stuff that happens behind the scenes that help people get things done. So, I'm just talking to a couple of the guys in the recruiting department, and they're so underappreciated when it comes to just doing work.
Yeah, the legwork they have to put in.
And I was talking to one of the guys. I'm not even going to embarrass him because it was two guys, right? And the third, he's overwhelmed with what's going to happen today. Like I'm just praying like he just get to Sunday, just get the big fella this Sunday, right? I know you're going to have close to 1,000 coaches now. And you know what? When they closed the registration?
When?
Yesterday.
Oh, jeez.
So they knew that they were bursting at the seams, and the guys are kind of stressed.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh my gosh, these numbers." And Coach Rule was like, "Nope, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We're not."
Because he wants as many people as possible.
And you know what?
To be a part of what they're doing.
And it stresses his staff. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Hey, got to improvise. It's not always rainbows and butterflies. We got to figure it out. So I think, that's why he's always challenging guys. But back to the behind the scenes thing, it's like I know I have an idea what you guys do. It's very much appreciated. You don't complain, head down. There's a part of me, one of the guys, I rubbed my elbow up against him. I was like, I just need a little bit of that, right? Because sometimes there's this thing in me where I want people to say, "Hey, job well done, good and faithful servant," or something like that, right? Where you want to know that like you matter.
Yep.
And the first guy that I was talking to said, "Well, a lot of it is because of this particular person," and that was the next guy that I wanted to talk to because I know they do some thankless stuff. I mean, just grimy, grinding structure, and the folks above them assume that it gets done, and they just do it, man. And so
they are heavily relied upon, but it's a pretty thankless job.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So for the Gentas and the Callahans and the Keith Williams and those guys, the same guys that I was talking about last week, that are just grimy and grungy enough, like it works. Because if it's at that level, then and you have a culture of appreciation, then the guys above that are like, well they're doing it, so
Yeah.
why
I
can't
can't let that guy outwork me.
Yeah,
Right.
It just breeds.
And it's not just the bottom tier, though, right? And I use that term loosely, right? Bottom tier just in terms of
Because that
hierarchy,
stuff
right?
can be kind of thankless.
It's incredibly thankless because
Yeah.
most of it never pays off.
They're going to pull off this. We're going to pull off this coaches clinic this
Yeah.
weekend, and I'm just.
Will outwork Coach Rule, and no one will outwork support staff. So if you're somewhere in the middle, what are you doing?
Yeah.
If you're not on that same page, you're not going to be around very long.
And the cool thing about it is the young guys, like if you're a developmental program, remember, this is the first staff to say out loud, hey, we're a developmental program.
Mhm.
I was like, hey, that can't be a dirty word. Like this is,
No,
I love it.
It is
I love it.
essential.
You have to acknowledge who you are so you know what you want to, like, if you don't know your history, you're going to lose the reality of yourself,
Mhm.
right? So the fact that they start with that mindset
Mhm.
and you get that core group, like whether it's your equipment managers, like you think Jay Terry doesn't work his ass off? Like it's
You have to.
it's just permeated because I don't think anybody wants to sit still because everybody, oh, what's next? What's next? What
Not
can we
just do
tackle
they
next?
not want to sit still, they don't want to let anybody else down.
So when you have a behind the scenes recruiting staff, Sean Padden, those guys, Ryan Callahan, it's you develop these unique relationships with the younger guys
Mhm.
because not that they're projects, but they did a lot of due diligence. You just can't come to that campus and be a part of the team.
Mhm.
So they're uniquely connected. So when they're having tough days or they're not seeing as many strides as they want to, they can go back and, Vince Ginter or somebody can say, hey, man, head up, young fella. And those are the little things, right? Because sometimes the big dogs, you could feel kind of lost because they're doing their
Well,
thing.
there's so many people involved, right?
Right. So you get those guys going. Then you're building a culture from the top working backwards where the top end is supposed to be invested in the younger guys and the middle guys are investing in the guys that are younger before them. That's how you get development. And I'm telling you, it's foolproof. Like you can't have an Amon Green without the middle tier
Mhm.
when you first start as a freshman, because those days were lonely. Ask him about those first 2 months.
Yeah.
And
You mean
we
middle tier like the Clinton Child,
the
Damon Bennings,
the LP, like the guys that are in the middle of the young guys
so
that are
not the LPs, not like the superstars.
no,
right?
those guys.
Oh, those guys too.
Because we're
Okay.
not that far removed in age.
Okay, you're talking about middle in terms of age.
Yes.
Okay.
So the older guy, the coaches are investing in the older guys are investing in the
younger guys.
The younger guys.
Yeah.
The coaches are investing in the older guys because they want us to bring the young guys along.
Mhm.
That's how you develop. And so you can get a guy like Demetrius Bell or
And that's what we've heard him talk about, right? Heard him talk about not only heard him talk about that's why it's so important for those guys to adopt the standard.
Yeah.
Right. Heard Heinrich Harburg talk about it yesterday.
But look where it starts with, though.
Mhm.
It starts with the support staff.
Yeah.
And the support staff gets to the young guys because they're the closest to them because they were so heavily involved in the recruiting process. And you may have a third-year senior like, I don't know, Isaac Gifford, not a third-year senior, but an older guy, right?
6-year guy.
So when you get a young guy in like Lil Buford, Lil Buford's cool with the support staff. He can kind of be cool with his little brother. You keep him at bay while Isaac Gifford can answer every question in a position meeting. And then the coach continues to pump through the old guys like Singleton and Gifford, and then they trickle down. But if the top guys aren't getting it, you're protected and covered because your back end guys have the young kids back.
Yes.
So you're always
as you're developing.
So you're always feeling like, I got a chance because somebody cares about me. And I tell people that people that got to function at a high level, especially if you want to make it in power in Power 5, 2, whatever the conference is, football, basketball, whatever, you can't always need to be talked to.
Well,
Sometimes you just have to feel. You got to be able to function at a high level. If your guy, the guy that you feel is like making his decisions, he may not have said anything to you for a couple of days, and you got to be able to function.
Well, it's like you say all the time. You want guys that don't need babysat.
Yeah.
You want guys that don't need. You want guys that don't need hand holding.
Mm.
Those are the guys.
It's mine. It's one of mine. It's up there in the rankings.
It's not just about, hey, this guy needs help. It's about, hey, this is taking a valuable resource if I have to constantly be with this guy reassuring him.
Yeah, it's
right?
cool. It's like, these teams are split up, and I'll just give you a little example. Jalen Noy catches a long touchdown. Place goes crazy, right? But remember, there's two teams. There's two teams on another field. There's two teams on another field. But he's a receiver, goes down, makes a play. It's a heck of a catch in the back of the end zone. Later on after practice, like word gets around that he made a play. The older guys, the Banks, the Nair, those guys, hey man, head pats, yada yada yada. The young guys are like, ooh, he's only a year older than me. That's cool. I could probably be that guy.
Yeah, I could do that.
The support staff can be walking around and say, hey, Bill. See,
there's no reason you can't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're sandwiched.
Yeah.
And then the meat is good because it's in the middle.
Right. I like it. Just as a program, we will have Nick Bahe coming up here he's ready to go? Perfect. Nick Bahe is joining us now here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. He is a college basketball analyst. Obviously, you know him from the Nick Bahe podcast as well as the Chick and Nick show. Nick, how are you this morning?
I'm great. How are you guys doing on this Good Friday?
What's up, Nick? How we doing?
I'm fantastic. I'm pumped for this weekend. See what happens in Arizona. The game's on deck. Life is good.
Hey, I want to ask you something because we're on the heels of this, this bottom to top to bottom stuff in terms of development, and Creighton may be a good testament too, especially as we add in the strength and conditioning staff. We've been talking this morning with regards to Nebraska football about how there's something about when you feel strong. It's more than just look good, feel good, but it's when physically then you're in elite level shape and you feel good about yourself. Talk a little bit about how you think there's some of the natural byproduct as we see the development in programs when you start with just that basic building block.
Yeah, I think it's really important, and I think it, in some ways, for me, I know what I went through at Creighton, and I think it changed things for me heading into my senior year. I wasn't necessarily one of those guys that was all about the weight room, and throwing around weight. And Coach Altman used to always be all over me. You got to get stronger. You got to work on your body. And, I was always like, okay, whatever. And heading into my senior year, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to shut this dude up. I got so tired of him. I got to shut this guy up. So I went all in on it. And I completely changed my body. I went from I got all the way down to 5.2% body fat. And so Coach Altman used to call me 5.2 at times. She's like, look at 5.2. and I bring that up because it changed the way I felt about myself. Even if I wasn't necessarily Charles Oakley out there, I felt strong, and it changed my mentality. I felt tough. I felt like, okay, I got to rotate over and crack down on a 5-man on a block out. Let's do it, or loose ball. It's a little 50-50-ish. I got that. That's mine, and so that's me. But I think it changes the way the other people around you look at you. I've always said there's nothing that'll get people to think that you're all in more than changing your body, because a lot of that stuff happens outside of the facility.
Yeah.
Make on nutrition, all those sorts of things. So you want your teammates to be in on you. You want your coaches to be in on you. Go bust your ass in the weight room.
Yep.
Go take nutrition seriously and change your body. That's like a tangible visual thing that people can see and point to and go, okay, Nick is in. I know that, and that all kind of just plays in on top of each other. So I think it really, really matters. Not to mention, obviously it matters being in shape. I'm sure DB, there were times there's probably nothing worse than, it's 3rd and 4. Here comes an ISO, and you're like, oh, I'm tired.
Yeah.
And there's also nothing better than here comes a huge 3rd and 4, and it's an ISO, and you're feeling good.
Oh my gosh! I just got tingles. No, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Like you just said that, and I'm gonna tell you how this went. I was surrounded by what I would call physical freaks, right? I had, LP looked like he was chiseled. We know about Clinton. I mean, that dude could put a tattoo on his stomach when he was playing, and you could barely read it because his abs got in the way, right? And AG is kind of this freak. And so I was always reluctant to be the guy without his shirt on around those guys, right? Mm-hmm. So, I'm struggling. I'm starting. I'm not starting. I'm trying to make it. There was a deal. We were playing Virginia Tech, and we had a drive, and I had about a couple carries in a row, and we called timeout, and I swear to goodness, Nick, this is exactly what happened. I've never, ever, 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 ever told this story, but you said it. I can't remember the down and distance, but it was 3rd and something or 4th and something. It was the one where I scored. It was like, oh God, he looks like he shot out of a cannon. I told myself, I finally was down to 208 pounds. Mm-hmm. I told myself when we broke the huddle, because I kind of had my hands on my knees, and I told myself, you know what? This is why you train. Like I finally felt like I was in a position physically, and it took me 4 years.
It took me, Damon, it took me 5.
So technically I was 5 because it was 96. Yeah. So when you said that is so true. Yeah. It's like I want the payoff. So I know what I said to myself. And Frost gave me the butt tap, and I just was like, all right, here we go. And I felt like they were tired.
Right. There's nothing better than late in the game. I mean,
that's crazy.
I had the same sort of anecdote against, we played St. Joe's, Phil Martelli and them came to town my senior year, might have been in like December. Mm-hmm. And we rallied back, and we have a possession late to get a stop. And I was guarding their Vic Calates' brother. He was 6'8", he was good. And I remember breaking the huddle, and I remember getting in a stance and being like, man, I feel effing good. Like, my legs feel good. Like, I'm ready to chase this guy, and we get a stop. And there's just like that feels, and you know where that came from.
Yep.
I had this thing for a couple of weeks where I'd go run with the soccer team in Morrison Stadium in the summer. Like that stuff, that is filling up your confidence cup. And you can always harken back to that stuff. I mean, it's the one reason Bill Self does his boot camp. Like, it's good. It gets everybody in shape, but it's more about like mentally. When you finish boot camp, you get a T-shirt that says, "If it was easy, everybody would do it." And that was always like in big possessions, late in games, late in the season. Down 4 at Texas, Coach Self could for all of us be like, guys, we did boot camp. This is nothing. Down 4, 2 minutes left. Like, come on now. We did, but this is nothing.
Isn't it weird? It's weird because I think that's 80% of UConn, right? Like their fitness and their mentality because of how they practice. You see how those guys practice? Mm-hmm. Like that's demoralizing. And they play that way because of their physical prowess.
Yeah, their purpose is off the charts. And there are a lot of teams that are talented. Lots of them. Like there are a ton.
Yeah.
There are a lot of teams that are tough. But that will only get you so far if you don't have purpose. And Danny gets those guys to play with just incredible purpose. Like he gets those talented dudes to execute and cut. Watch on Saturday how hard they cut, how hard they screen, how hard they slip to the basket, how much they set up things, how much they show and cover for each other. Like, and all of that is a mentality to a certain extent. Like it's kind of in everybody, but it's just a mentality. And it's just amazing how they're at that point where I bet you guys felt it in 95 where it was like, oh, we know we're better than you, and we cannot wait to show you how much better we are than you.
That's right.
Don't get it twisted. We are totally not complacent. We are totally locked in. And that's a hard thing, like, because sometimes supreme confidence can let in a little bit. It
can make you a little lazy because you're better than. Yeah.
Yes. And you UConn's just an amazing combination of that. It's my favorite thing to watch about them. It's just like they have this edge about them, and Danny's strutting the sideline, chewing gum, kind of got that swag about him, like he's got no idea. You know what I mean? But yet his team goes out there and plays like a bunch of just off the junkyard dogs. It's great.
We're talking with Nick Bahe. He is an analyst for Fox Sports. He obviously has the Chick and Nick show. He's got the Nick Bahe podcast, all part of Hurrdat Sports. You know, it's one big happy family here on the radio right now. Nick, you mentioned Danny Hurley and his ability to get guys to play with purpose. And I'm actually glad you did, because I know DB and I have both watched UConn and said to ourselves, I don't know that they do anything special from a schematic.
Everybody likes their action. I'm like, they just do it
better,
hard.
Yeah, they do it better. But I don't look at their stuff and go, oh, this is some offensive or defensive genius we're dealing with. He might be a genius, but I don't think it shows up on the X's and O's the way I think it shows up in the way you said. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think they're not necessarily running the most exotic things you've ever seen.
Right.
In life, but they do it hard. I mean, I think that's just. I mean, one of the cool things about what I love personally about college basketball is the variety of styles. Like, it's my favorite thing to do on the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. It's like, man, this team plays zone the whole game. This team presses the whole game. This team wants to play two bigs and go high-low and counter inside. This team plays five guards. Like, there are a lot of different ways to do it. But what separates it is how well you do it. And the same thing in football to a certain degree. I mean, there are a lot of different ways to move the ball, move the chains, and score points. It's just how well you do it, and certainly there's an element of personnel and there's a non-negotiable level of minimum talent that has to be there. But UConn just does things that they execute. I think, yes, they're talented. Yes, Donovan Clingan is a total disruptor defensively. And yes, Newton and Cam Spencer and those guys are excellent in the backcourt. But I'm just not sure there's a group that executes better than they do. Like, very rarely do I watch them play and I'm like, well, that was a crap possession. We're like, what were they trying to do? I mean, how many times did you watch in the NCAA tournament over the course of the last 2 weekends where team looks unorganized, right? They're like, point guards looking, two guys are pointing at each other, and they're slow to get into something, and all of a sudden there's 12 on the clock, and they have a terrible possession. Like, you just don't see that with UConn very much. And so, yeah, I think it's the P word, man. It's purpose with them that is the separator.
All right, I'll give you another P word, Purdue. Is it inevitable that it is Purdue and UConn as you look at these matchups?
I think it is. I look at the last two opponents for NC State. They combined 9 for 51 from three. And it ain't like they're running people off the line and contesting every three. there was, I mean, so don't give me, if someone's listening right now, it's like excellent 3-point defense. I think sometimes 3-point defense is very misleading.
Mm-hmm.
I think that stat,
especially in small sample sizes.
Let me see the shots. Okay. Like, let me see what you gave up. And I mean, you watch that Marquette game. Could they have gotten more wide open?
Oh, I know. Hey, at some point, these got to go in, aren't they?
So what I think it's a couple of things. I think Purdue, they almost shoot at 41% of the team, and it's not just one guy. I don't think they're going to go 3 for 30 or 5 for 20 like you did. And then I think that's going to get DJ Burns into foul trouble, and it's just going to be kind of a slow, inevitable kind of what Purdue does.
Yeah.
He kind of gets the front line into foul trouble, gets to the free throw line. Purdue knocks down their threes, and I think Purdue is going to win and ultimately beat UConn.
Nick Bahe, best in the business.
Man.
We appreciate you, bud.
Good. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
We're halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi. We're live to the exterior stage. And we are brought to you by our friends at the Omaha Supernovas. They got another win last night, 3-1 over the Columbus Fury, right here at home in the CHI Health Center. They will be on the road a week from tomorrow against the Atlanta Vibe and you can figure out how to watch them, follow them along at supernovas.com, and you can get tickets to their next home match, April 20th, right there at supernovas.com as well. Make sure you get tickets, and you can maybe check out the shop, get a little merch as well, support our friends over at the Omaha Supernovas. One of the things that really stuck with me about what Nick said there was, and I'll give you and him credit because you guys weaved kind of perfectly in from Nebraska football, the topic we're talking about, into UConn basketball. And I'll be honest, my transition would have been much clunkier. But that idea of purpose, right? Because I was being serious when I asked him the question, because that's the first time someone's been able to tell me what Danny Hurley does that's special, right? Because we've sat here and been like, the action's not really special. Players are good, but they're not special, right? We're not talking about 3 or 4 lottery picks here. We're talking, they're pretty good guys. A couple of them will have NBA careers, most likely. We're sitting here looking at them. We go, I mean, they're good, but why are they special? Why are they just
because they probably don't. Do you see more than? I had to fix my mic. Do you see more than 2 lottery picks?
I mean,
Castle and Klingon
is definitely a lottery pick. Klingon's going to be right on the edge of back end lottery.
I just was 15, 16, 17.
Yeah, somewhere between 13 and 18 probably. Okay. He's probably a mid first round pick, and Castle will go because of his age and upside. He'll go in the lottery for sure. But outside of that, you might have another guy that kind of, I don't know that Tristan Newton's an NBA player. He might get a shot, but you're talking about only really 2 guys for sure that I think are going to have, real NBA careers. And
although we talk a lot about Spencer shooting, he defends too.
Yes, he does. I don't know athletically if he's going to be able to
get
hack
it, but
in the NBA,
but
he might get a shot, right? But like, pick 2 guys from that team, and whether
not to go white on white crime, but significantly better defender than Connect, even though that you both But listen, my point is, you talk both about their athleticism or lack thereof. Mm-hmm. One is committed. It looks more than.
I actually think Connect's a little bit better athlete naturally,
in a significantly worse defender. Yeah. So some of that, my point is
purpose.
100. That's there you go.
Some of that's
get
a
out,
little
get out of
the purpose there that we see from Danny Hurley, and that's one of those. I think one of the byproducts of that, to bring it kind of back around here to Nebraska football, is one of the byproducts of that is when you're all working towards the same goal. It's kind of a chicken or an egg thing for me, right? Is everybody working to the same goal because you have purpose, or do you have purpose because everyone's working towards the same goal? I don't know that it matters, right? But one of the byproducts of that is you can have a lottery pick in Castle who maybe doesn't really put up that good of numbers, doesn't really have eye-popping numbers, right? A lot of these guys that are going to be lottery picks want to go somewhere where they're going to be featured, they're going to start, you're going to be a Dillingham or a Shepherd down at Kentucky, and you're going to lead the team in scoring and all this, right? That's not Castle. But when you're all pulling in the same direction, you care less about who gets the credit, right? That's something that I think we see at Nebraska. We were talking about the support staff, right? If you're all pulling in the right direction, do you, as support staff, coaching staff, head coach, right? If everybody's pulling in the same direction, it matters. Like, yes, you want people to appreciate your work, but there's a difference between being appreciated and getting credit, right?
Oh, good. That's a great distinction.
Big difference, and I don't know that everybody makes it.
That's a good distinction,
right? There's a difference between, hey, I like an attaboy, and I need credit for this. People need to know.
No, I'm with you.
Because one of them,
that's good.
One of them's validation. The other one is ego, right? Validation's important. Ego, not so much.
Man, so along those lines, just yesterday, Nebraska's got a 4-star running back on campus, Jamarian Parker.
Yep.
And a couple of the recruiting guys have him, he's obviously with them, and Coach Barthel comes over to some of the form. Well, it's just me and Menor over there, and he's like, hey, you guys, it'd be pretty cool. I've got a guy coming that's here this morning. This is his story. And it's tough. It's a It's a tough story.
Yeah.
Lost a family member right in front of him. Took a year off of playing. He's in East St. Louis. But he's a heck of a talent, right? Like missed the whole season.
Yeah.
But Nebraska's still on him. Tell me that isn't the most Nebraska thing ever.
Yep. Investing in a person.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they see they
believe in the person.
the potential.
Yeah.
Right. And again, another guy without junior tape. So it's like
a little bit about that.
Right. He's missing a year. Okay. And just turns out like, hey, if you get a chance, kind of love on him, see what this is about, talk to him what this is about, what we're about, that'd be cool. So it's like, I think Mac 10 I was like, yeah, no problem, whatever. And then later on, he's with one of the recruiting guys. He's with Coach Williams and we introduced ourselves, and it was so cool to watch Coach Williams. He kind of handed him off to me without really doing it. He just kind of low-key faded, did his thing, but he was in tandem with Coach Barthel because Coach Barthel, or he wasn't there at the time, EJ said what he said. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. So then that's right in my wheelhouse, right? My nephew was at Ritter. My sister's in St. Louis. Tough case study for a kid.
Yeah.
And so I spent like 20 minutes just talking to him. No, he's a yes sir, no sir kid. I mean, super kid. Looked me in the eye, and we're just talking about St. Louis and growing up, and some guys that I played with from East St. Louis, and my family's there, and this, that, and the other. And like after that 20 minutes, it was probably way better for my soul. I'm dead serious, Ravi.
Yeah.
Than it was his. And what? Why did he say he loved Nebraska? Look, can you guess why he said he loves Nebraska right now? And it's not just because they're recruiting them the hardest, because he did say
like a family.
Yep, that's exactly the word he used. Like,
I wasn't there, by the way.
So he says it,
yeah,
and I was like, if it's not authentic, because this wasn't orchestrated.
No,
we had a directive.
Yeah,
it was like, hey, if you can. But that was like 30 minutes previous. Coach goes to do his thing, and Coach Williams, I'm calling Keith a coach. He's just doing his thing. He's got a lot of guys there, right? And he wants to be everywhere and present, because you always feel like at that place, like people are watching you.
Yeah, it's a fishbowl.
No, I'm talking about the staff. So it's like, you better don't stand around.
Keep working.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's ABW. Always be working. And so like a lot of those guys are spread thin, but they're always on the move. And I just was like, he's getting the family vibe this early. But do you know why?
How long has he been there? A day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
the message is consistent. But further than that, why? It's because of the purpose. It's amazing. I watch Coach Rule joke with these position players. I even know, like, it's so different now to see the interactions between players and coaches. Like, that was there was only if you weren't like Jason Peter could do it because it was part of his personality. Some of those guys could like mess with Coach Osborne. And even some other good players, like they could, but they didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but now it's like, if you can't relate and you can't make that transition, it's almost like you can't be successful. But then immediately when he wants you to know that he's at the top of the pecking order and this is how it goes, it immediately
snaps back into life.
Yep. Like, yeah, that's
hard to do both.
That fun stuff was cool.
It's time to work now.
If we're running power right here, get in the hole. Stop being soft. Like, he can say that.
Yeah. But he can say that because he has that relationship where you can goof around and it feels like family and you're all pulling in the same direction. I want to dig into that a little bit more. We've got another segment here that, we're going to keep talking Nebraska football. Surprise, surprise. That's CB. I'm Ravi. This is Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. Wrapping up hour number 2. Where has the time gone? Here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Same place the Cowboys are.
That's CB. Ravi. I'm Ravi. We're live on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill on the Team Jack Foundation. You know, we're at the Jet Awards last night. They work for an amazing cause. Team Jack Foundation works for an amazing cause as well, and that is to find better treatments for kids fighting brain cancer and one day a cure. So far, they have raised over $12 million and counting, and they work on projects with the biggest national institutes in the research game: Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, Memorial Sloan Kettering, Columbia University, and of course, right here at home, the University of Nebraska Medical Center. Here's how you can get involved. Go to teamjackfoundation.org. You can donate directly on the page there. You can see what events that they've got coming up that you can get involved with, either as an attendee, corporate sponsorships. All of these things are ways for you to get involved. And you can see in more detail all these projects that they're working on to help fight childhood brain cancer. Go to teamjackfoundation.org for more information and on getting involved. Want to return to this conversation we've been having kind of throughout the first couple hours this morning about, you know, it's kind of morphed into a purpose discussion, right? And what that looks like and what that means. With UConn, it means that they can do simple things, but if you do it at a high level
all the time
and consistently, right? That's the biggest difference between good and great and excellent and all-timers, right? Is consistency. If you can know exactly what you're going to get out of anyone in any given circumstance, that may be the most valuable piece of information that you can have, because then you can plan accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't plan accordingly, then you're always going to be reacting rather than being proactive.
Yeah, like if you peak at a 7 and that's what you are, don't one day be a 9.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh God, did we miss the boat? And then the next day be a 2.
Right.
Strive to be the 7 all the time.
I would rather,
especially because you just know what you're getting.
You don't want the variance.
Because the 1 isn't sustainable, so
Mm-hmm.
it messes with your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
The other is you're not maximizing, so it messes with your heart.
Mm-hmm. I would. Oof, that's true. That's
Right.
100% true.
Right?
Man,
You put that on a t-shirt.
I just had a bunch of different people's faces flash in front of my eyes.
Right.
That broke my heart.
Been there.
There, you know, I would rather have the guy that I know is always going to be somewhere between a 6 and an 8 than the guy that I know could either be a 4 or a 10.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't help me that much.
The one game scenario in which you look like a 10.
Yes.
Or the one date scenario in which you look like a 10. It's like,
and then the next day or next week or whatever, he's a 3 or a 4.
Yeah.
And you can't plan around that, right? You can, and more importantly, you can't rely on that. And so having that consistency is a huge. I mean, when we talk about coaches trusting guys, that's what we're mostly talking about, right? Sometimes it's, hey, do they know their playbook? Do they know what they're doing? Do they, you know? Do we know their defense? Do we feel good that they know their defensive assignment? But a lot of times it's a trust that you know exactly the level of effort and execution you're going to get from that guy on any given day. Now, you were talking about the scenario with the running back recruit yesterday, and you know it'd be really easy.
Jamarian Pucker.
It'd be really easy in that situation for a couple things to happen. For let's say Jamarian commits tomorrow, right? It'd be really easy for you to want credit there. Be like, man, I had this 20-minute conversation with him. We really connected. I think I had a big part. And this is what we see handlers do a lot, right? With high school guys. They always want credit. They want a little bit of the clout. Not that you're handling Jamarian Parker, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I just met him.
The guys that go around with, we see it a lot more in basketball. We're starting to see it more in football, unfortunately. But these guys that are gatekeepers to these kids, right? They get in, they act like they're helping out, but really they want credit. They want the clout. They want whatever for getting a kid to X, Y, and Z spot. On the other side, it'd be really easy for Coach Williams or Coach Barthel to want to be like, oh, man, no, this is my kid. I brought him in. I found him. I did this. I did X, Y, and Z. He's the reason I'm there. You know what I don't think we will hear at any point with either. I mean, I haven't heard it with Dylan Raiola. That's a 5-star kid. Matt Rule would have been really easy to be like, yeah, you know what? The reason he came back here, it's because we kept building that relationship, even though we didn't think it was a possibility.
I see you working.
We still, we kept the relationship with Dayton. We kept the relationship with Donnie,
who, by the way, is amazing.
Yeah,
his personality. He's a cool kid.
It would have been real easy to do all those things and be like, and that's why Dylan came back, because we did all this and I did this and whatever. You know what he said when Dylan came back? Had no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
He just called me out of the blue, and I was like, yeah, we'll take a 5-star quarterback.
Hey,
You think that had nothing to do with Coach Rule?
Listen.
No. It had everything to do with Coach Rule and the family he's built and the atmosphere he's built. But when push came to shove, when it came time to take credit, he took none of it.
It is, and that's funny you say that, because do you know what I was thinking about? Is after talking to Parker, I loved the support staff more than I did, and it didn't have anything to do with Parker. It was the fact that Parker was so engrossed by Nebraska's commitment to him, right? The Williams, the Gintas, the Callahans. Then there's Coach Barthel too, right? But I'm like, you know what? These guys are really, really good. It didn't, because the conversation did, like I said, it didn't have anything to do with me, and I felt better about having talked to him
you got
for
out of
me,
yeah,
than anything. He's probably not even going to remember my name. He's like, who's this weird dude that they said used to play running back here that I'm talking to when I probably want to be over here watching running backs.
Yeah.
And he just walked with me.
Yeah.
We're on the outside, and I wanted to see, the only reason I was on that side is because I wanted to see Kalen. So it's not really probably where he wants to be, but it's what I wanted to see. And by the way, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to take all the arrows, whatever. Whatever you think you saw about Danny Kalen in high school, or what you think, and granted, it was a small sample size, and I'm going to say this with absolute conviction. He was so yesterday. I was in awe.
It's the first thing you said to me yesterday.
Was it?
Yeah. When we went to the Jet Awards, we
dapped up. What I say?
You came over to me because we got there. I think I was there a little early for media, and then you came, and so we dapped up, whatever, and then you go something to the effect of, "You wouldn't believe how good DK was today."
Oh, yeah. That's how I felt.
That was the first thing you said to me.
That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And all I'm trying to do is still drills, right? Like,
yeah,
I want a few concepts. We did get an equipment purchase. They got a couple of pieces of gear where I was like, yeah, we need that. We could practice a lot faster in our turnover circuit.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I'm like trying to pick Coach Rule's brain. And I didn't go over to him. He was just watching the turnover circuit. And I was like, hey, where do you guys buy those? He goes, bro, I have no idea. You got to ask the equipment staff. But anyway, so I swear to goodness. So I'm watching him.
Yeah.
And then I just became kind of captivated.
Yeah.
Right. Because he already kind of has a personality. He's so like good. I think good natured is the term, right? Like,
DK?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And this was on the heels of what we talked about all week, right? We have our minds made up about these guys, but sometimes you got to let it play out. So I'm looking for some confirmation here. I'm like, is he who people think he is? Like, I want to see more too.
And to be fair, there were flaws in high school.
Listen, ask anybody that had a pulse yesterday. He was fantastic. And I was walking, and I talked to one of the other guys that had spent some time watching, and I said, you know what? Like, how about the reads? I'm not even paying attention to the actual balls, and they're good too.
Which we already knew. We already knew he could spin it.
Yeah.
Right.
But like stepping up in the pocket and
like climbing the pocket.
100%.
Because that was some of the criticism was, we don't know when the pocket gets a little messy. Right. Because we know.
And listen, and
the arm talent chops are there.
And here's the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Like all eyes are obviously on a different field because DR is doing his thing with some of the other guys, and it would be hard to practice like that if
Mhm.
you don't have the ability to stay in the moment.
Yeah.
Especially when you're competing.
Mhm.
It's weird, but I was probably more impressed by the emotional or the psychological development
Mhm.
than I was the physicality, because I've been there.
Yeah.
Right. A freshman phenom gets on campus and he's running with the threes, and you're wondering why your running back coach isn't with the top group.
Mhm.
Right. He's over there with that group,
With the
saying
phenom.
with his weird, and then he comes back to us, and it's like, okay, what do you think?
Mhm.
Like, why is he trying to get confirmation himself? I'm just telling you, it's hard to function like that.
Sure.
Unless you're pretty mature, and just watching the efficiency, I was like, there has been a ton of uptick in just a little bit of time. And there were a lot of guys that were good yesterday, but that one, just because it's such a discussion point.
Well, and he's one of the guys we had the most question marks about, right?
Because we know too much, or at least we think
We've
we
seen too much.
At least we think we did.
Yeah.
And I shoot,
Seeing and knowing, not always the same thing.
I'm just telling you, your boy's on record. He was better than any of his critics thought yesterday.
For sure.
I like that. That was one big takeaway.
Coming up next, we've got Mike Sautter, our very own Hurrdat Sports basketball correspondent. He'll be live here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Coming up next. We're kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, as well as KFOR in Lincoln. Reminder, today is your last day to get your $100,000 prop card challenge entries activated at the Warhorse Casino in Lincoln. You can also make your picks through the end of the day online. You have to go get those entries activated before the end of the day at the Warhorse Casino in Lincoln. You get 18 out of the 25 questions right, and you are eligible for cash and free play. If you have any questions, go to warhorsecasino.com for a full list of details and house rules. Warhorse Sportsbook, no bets, no glory. Joining us now on the Pillar Exterior stage is one Mike Sautter of Hurrdat Sports. What's going on?
Not much. Not much. Whoa.
Yeah, we got an echo.
That's his volume on that
Wait a
computer.
I had it off. It's
There you
off.
go.
It's
Hey,
been
there
off.
we go.
It was off.
It's off
I
now.
don't know about that.
It was off.
I
I
don't-
promise you. It was
I
off.
don't know.
No, don't promise now, because I think
hit
I
the
felt I
button
saw
when
the
I
old
said-
finger slide, and all of a
No,
sudden the
I
audio
hit the
got
button
better.
and then I hit it again.
Listen, I'm not going to
When
get it.
I sat down here, I hit the button to
not-
make sure it was off.
I'm not going to get in the crosshairs of Michael Jerome Sautter.
Unless I turned it on when I sat
he's,
down here
he's
on
very
accident.
he's very serious this morning. My man is about
So
his scratch. How are
Yeah.
you? It's Friday.
I got a little sunburn yesterday.
Man,
on the
is
head.
it soccer do that to you?
No, it was a baseball yesterday.
Oh, we're talking baseball.
Yeah, it was- sun came out. Also,
Sun is
can
down.
I tell you what I
It's
did?
freezing cold.
So I went to baseball yesterday,
Mhm.
and then I was gonna buy a new lawnmower.
Did you go to
and then-
Ty's Outdoor Power?
I know a guy at Ties, and I was gonna buy a new lawnmower, and then I said, you know what? I'm gonna be a man, and I'm gonna fix my lawnmower. Not fix, but do the stuff myself.
Did the price tag scare you?
No.
Okay. Because I know you're extremely cheap. So you're
Yeah.
like,
Maybe I'll just fix it.
maybe be manly, maybe break one of my perfectly manicured nails,
I did.
or spend money.
That's not fair. That's not fair
Yeah,
because
you have amazing hands with no calluses.
yes. Very soft hands, actually.
Yeah, it's a little much. Just keep it
Yeah.
pushing. Ravi's like, I don't even know what we're doing. Yeah, it's a couple weird guys.
No, I need to change the front wheels of my lawnmower.
a little wobbly.
They're worn out, so I need to upgrade that or
Well, you-
replace them.
You
And
don't
I
have any
need
chains you
the
can
lo-
put around there?
the lo-
Isn't
no,
that what people do?
no.
Or is that for
Snow.
Snow.
On real
Yeah.
tires, not lawnmower
Yeah.
tires.
Well, my point is lawnmower tires go bad. You're on the grass.
They wear out. Yeah, they're plastic.
I've never heard of anybody replacing
Me
lawnmower tires.
neither.
all the time.
Unless it was like broken.
So
like,
can you order
if
like 4 wheels on
Yeah.
Amazon?
Yeah,
like if you
I see the
hit
front
something and it
wheels come-
broke?
Really?
I've
Okay.
never
they're
heard
coming
of-
today.
I've
I
never
ordered
heard
them.
of this.
Take 2 seconds.
Okay.
I bought a socket set for the first time in my life.
Yeah, I remember a couple years. I was probably 42 or 3 when I learned how to use sockets.
Right.
Those-
That's amazing. It's like the best
Sockets
tool
are
ever.
great.
I'm like,
Better
oh,
than a
you mean I
wrench,
don't have
right?
to? You
Oh, way
mean I don't have to
Yeah.
stop and start over at its origination
Yeah.
point? I don't have
Yeah.
to just keep.
Yeah,
I can just go all the
keep
way
cranking,
around.
Right.
Keep cranking.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's
So I did
Welcome
that
to adulthood.
because I changed my lawnmower.
dude. That was like 7 years ago. I am dead dog serious.
My lawnmower blade needs,
Sharpening?
replaced or sharpened or whatever. So
Just go get it sharpened.
I just did it myself.
With what? Maybe I could
You buy
use
a
it on my
file.
axe handles.
A file.
Dude, I have some cutlery. I have some Kalinas that are unbelievable, and I'm so spoiled with one of them.
Mhm.
I want it to go back to its. It's still great. I cut the fat caps on some beef ribs the other day. I was like, oh my god, I love this. What more? I need to cut more meat.
Just get
Shout out
a.
Kalinas.
You have a. Don't you have
One of
a?
the greatest gifts I've ever received.
Don't you have a blade?
No, I don't. I ask around to see what's. I asked Vrzal the other day at Pisons. I was like, "Hey, do you guys have a knife sharpener? What do you use?"
Mhm.
And it's this little handheld thing that they put it in, and they. I want one of the ones that are either cool, or I need to like get it at an angle,
Right.
like a board, or
Mhm.
one of the pole. Not a pole. What do you call the little things that?
Yeah,
people,
it's a stick that. Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I'm
it's
talking
just
about.
like
Just
a-
get one of those. You'd be all right.
but I want to know what
so
works.
there's a difference between honing your knives and sharpening your knives.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Yeah.
So sharpening
now
your
I know.
knives is where you're on the angle and you're actually like
I want to do that. That's
yeah,
what
so
me
that's
dad taught
actually
me
sharpening.
on TikTok.
Honing is the thing you're talking about with the where you're just kind of doing this. where
Hey,
you've got-
stop laughing. Meet Dad is one of
No,
the
I'm
greatest
just-
follows on TikTok.
I've never. I
That
don't
dude
know.
taught me how
I'm
to cut
learning
meat.
right now.
I
don't know.
Me
only
too. I'm like all in.
only know because my wife's a professional chef. That's the only reason I know this. I don't cook. I don't use knives. But there's a honing is you're just I would consider it like a light sharpening. Like
Okay.
you're not going to get a new edge on the knife by honing it, but it'll kind of sharpen the edge that's already there. Sharpening your knife, you're actually putting a new edge on that knife.
So you need like a block.
Yes, you have a block at an angle. That's how you get the edge.
I want
on
the
it.
one, yeah, I
You
want
need
the
a
one
block.
like Meat Dad had. Although when he was kind of walking through it, it was much easier for me to figure out how to find the tendons and ligaments and whole cuts of meat than it was to. And you gotta find the angle that when you slice it and you go back at this, I'm like, that's a little tedious for your boy. Can I just go?
It's
Yeah.
always easier on TikTok than it looks than it is. In
Although
real
the
life.
recipes though are sensational, my man.
I don't
I'm
know.
just
I mean,
telling
that's
you.
fine.
Like
I learned how to not mess up my lawnmower and sharpen the blade via YouTube.
I wouldn't want to take the
other day,
blade
so-
off though.
Blade's probably pretty easy.
Yeah,
There's
I
probably
want
just
to-
You're
one
talking about
bolt.
the thing that looks like a propeller, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
just one bolt in the middle.
Yeah.
I ain't doing that.
Yeah, that's probably pretty easy.
Yeah,
hard
I try.
pressed.
Not.
I'd be the guy to come back. You'd be calling me Nubs.
I did.
I mean,
did-
I'm
I
the guy that doesn't
tried.
even mow my own lawn, so I mean, I don't have a lot of room.
Full
to talk
disclosure.
about it.
Man, this whole conversation started because I mowed yesterday. Oh,
You needed it, right? Like you're coming
Ooh-wee.
off one sport into another. You gotta recalibrate.
I'm telling you, I mowed. So I mowed and edged and trimmed and did all the whole thing, right? Like get the winter off.
It's a lot cheaper than sitting on somebody's black couch.
Yeah, and I did. Yeah, and I did. I will tell you.
Still go to therapy if you need it. Like,
Oh, you wet blanket.
I mean, listen. There's a difference between therapeutic and therapy.
Hey, like
Both are necessary.
coping mechanisms versus coping skills.
Yes, like there is a difference.
Yeah, whatever.
I
Devil's in the details.
My
mow
yard-
your ass off, Mike.
But still,
I do.
But still call
Thank you.
someone. But still
I
call
do.
someone.
I was. You
Get-
know,
get
I've
some help.
I've sent lawn photos to you before, Dave.
I know
I
it's
was-
kind of weird.
I was real close to doing that yesterday. I felt so good about myself yesterday after I mowed and what it looked like and everything that I leaned inside, opened the back door, leaned inside. I said, "That was amazing." And my wife's like, "What?" And
She
I
thought you were
said-
talking about the baseball game.
Yeah, no. I said, "Look outside. It looks great.
So,
Feels
so,
great."
so where
And
are
I
you
blew
today?
it all off and everything.
So where
It
are
was
you
great.
today? Northwest.
Millard West for a little bit. Well, I got to write something and then recruiting thing on Will Gertis from Cedar Falls, who Nebraska's in on, I guess. High school kid, not portal. So calm down, people.
Although Frankie did name him in his final
Yeah,
four, but
four, yeah.
but let me stick
But
with
anyway,
let me
yeah, I'm
stick,
going-
let me
so
do
I'm
soccer
going-
first, real quick, or soccer and baseball first.
Yeah, I'm going to baseball to the Millard West, the Frank Ryan invite. It's the best baseball in-season baseball tournament. I mean, you have Millard South or Millard West, the host, Millard South, West Side, Lincoln East, forget Miller North is in it.
Mhm.
So pretty good.
Roll
So
Stanks.
saw
Yeah, you heard enough of that last night.
No.
DJ was getting into him about Miller North last night. It was comedy.
I saw I saw Lincoln East yesterday. 2-0 is all against Westside. Westside pitched pretty well yesterday, played well. So East is just, man, they're good.
They
They're
are,
like
and it just keeps coming.
yeah, like their lineup is really good. So I believe Carter Mick is pitching today at 4 out of Millard West. So if you ain't got nothing to do, you want to see a future Husker, and
Ain't got a job.
yeah, you go do that.
Oh, I do now. Wait a
So
minute.
I'm going-
Why are you laughing, Cam? It's like, oh, here, sure. Everybody laugh at the black guy. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Do what I had to do.
They play
Appreciate
Millard
you,
South.
jerk.
They play Millard South today.
Yeah, Coach Geary, one of my faves.
Yeah, he's great.
He's amazing.
So I'm gonna go.
I was picking up food a couple of
Sure.
weeks ago on a humbug after state. Me, Maya, and we had stopped and because it was on the way, and it's like 11. No, it's like 10:50. So I had to call. Hey, can you do me a solid on the kitchen? And I had to beg and plead, whatever. And he had his staff in there, and I almost got caught up talking to him. Like, and it was still a full 8-9 minutes.
Yeah.
But he had his staff in there, and and I've said this for years. I'm pretty sure I
great.
love that guy.
Yeah, he's great.
No,
I saw them on Monday.
He's
actually.
he's spectacular.
Saw them Monday. Elkhorn North. They played Elkhorn North, by the way. They're not scared to play anybody.
No, but they know that it's going to serve them well. It's kind of
Right
like
down
the
the
Scott
line.
model,
Yeah.
with
Play
Renee and how she
whoever.
schedules, and then as you get to your
I
classes,
mean, they had
state
Millard
tournament,
South and Lincoln East in back-to-back days,
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday.
bring them on.
Yeah, it was wild.
How
So,
have they recovered in the last couple of months? Do you think from Lofton's departure? Did they kind of get it?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to some people. I think they kind of, understood that it was maybe
Did they?
time.
So do you
I
get
will
the
say
do you
this.
get the sense they wanted a mulligan to maybe target him more?
I think so, but I will also say like they thought that if he was going to leave, it'd be somewhere, like an IMG or something, not, a couple miles
Down
away.
the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I think they thought.
They got a heck of a like they're going in the right direction. How do you think they recover or move on from Coach Prince?
Elkhorn North. There's a lot of interest in that
So
job.
it's kind of a good place,
It's a
right?
good job. It'll be Class A and
They have good leadership.
3 years. Yeah.
Good resources.
Yeah, it's growing out there, so
Yeah.
they're gonna get bigger. It'll be through 3 years. They'll be A probably. I think.
I can't see 3 days, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna take your word.
I'm just saying. Like Elkhorn North will be A.
Yeah, it'll be a big job.
Couple 3. Yeah, it's a good job.
It'll be.
I mean,
It's a good big job.
Where are you at for soccer?
Soccer. I was at Southwest Norfolk, and that was brutal. By the way, temperature wise.
Did you wear ankle weights, or like what'd you do to keep yourself from getting blown away?
I just sat down.
I was kind of being
I
serious.
sat down.
I know you had to, yeah. So let's not act like you can hold up in the wind. I know you're thin, so it's like blowing around a straw, but you're not very centered. So I worry when it's blustery
Yeah.
out.
No, I just sat down because it was
Kind of anchored in.
Well,
Got to lower the center of
It
gravity
was
a little
also
bit.
it was also 5-0 at halftime, so there wasn't.
Did you see him in like a huge belt buckle? Like, what do you have that on? Don't ask questions.
It's a paperweight.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say.
I
something.
wanted to lighten the mood because
was-
you're
I
so
was-
heavy this morning. No
I
pun
was,
intended. Hey,
was-
Cam, leave the check at the door.
I was gonna say I'm pretty sure I haven't weighed myself in a while, but I'm pretty sure I gained a little bit of weight.
Have you?
My
Little Debbie starting to set
couple
in?
pants are getting a little tight.
Dude, you buy nothing but
32, bud. 32. Don't go to the
you
28.
buy
I'm not Shane.
you buy nothing but sugar and processed foods.
For sure. You know how much sugar is in this coffee right now this morning? A lot.
What'd you go with?
I made some from home, and then I actually.
So you don't
went
think he's
over-
paying for coffee
I
somewhere?
went across the street to Dunkin' and got a small coffee because I wasn't going to pay for the big one.
This
Just
dude has the
to
most
top it off.
extraordinary gas expenses that I've ever seen.
Wait, so you went?
you and Severe, it is unbelievable.
So you made coffee and then you went and
Gas
bought
expensive,
coffee?
what do you mean? Oh, gas, like
saving
gasoline.
gas.
Oh, yeah.
Fuel points.
Yeah, So I wasn't gonna go. I needed gas this morning. I was 8 miles when I pulled into the pump over here
Like
at
M&M?
Costco, and I drove by gas stations, and I was like, "Wait, $3.19? That seems like a little more. I know I can get it for $3.09 somewhere else."
Dude, there's a 296 in city. I'll tell you off there.
290. This is Costco over here was 297 this morning. So I was like, okay, that makes me feel good. I mean, if I would have pulled up to that thing and it was 319, I probably would have kept going and finding someplace.
Yeah, we took Caleb's car to Lincoln yesterday, and it 84 miles. And I was like, we could fill up in Lincoln. And he was in the passenger seat. I was like, man, you sure you don't want to drive? He's like, nah, man, I'm tired. But anyway.
He got a new haircut.
Yeah, he did. Did he put that on social media? Man, we're going to have a talk about that, man. Like,
when you're in love, you do stuff.
Yeah, knock it off. Let's cut that out. Hey, how about the new offer, though? So, and they're on our schedule, so they're paying
Central.
attention. Yes.
They're 3 now.
And they don't have a junior.
I know.
Like they're all young.
They'd be all right.
Pittman's a gonna be a sophomore.
Yeah,
he's a freshman now. Prince is a junior.
Yeah.
And
Haney's
gonna be a sophomore.
Yeah. Haney did. Frankly, I only saw him play the Omaha North game, which was, the wild.
I've had my eye on him a while, but
he was
neither here nor there.
He was good that night. I mean, he's really good that night against North. So we'll see. Like, you got to get guys up front, right, to help with that.
Yeah,
got to be able to throw the ball over.
And we earned it, but that schedule should be
all right.
We avoided 2 of the 3 Millard schools.
Do you feel like we're not talking about the depth of high school recruiting, the junior class right now, or I guess the 2025 class?
Yeah,
So
it's kind of getting overlooked.
The rising seniors.
Yeah.
Rising. I hate that term.
Well, I mean, what else am I supposed to call it?
I hate that
I don't
term.
know what it means. But I don't fight people over using
Yeah.
it.
It just means they're going to be this in the next class.
Yeah,
or
just call it
the next
2025 then.
Yeah,
Or
led by Terry,
Yeah,
Lofton, Jones.
those are the 3. I mean, that's pretty good. Then you
Yeah.
have guys like Keenan Cotton that's just like under the. I feel like he's very under the
Listen
radar.
what I'm telling you.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Listen what I'm
I don't
telling
know
you.
why he's
Hear
so
the-
much under the radar.
Real deal.
He's pretty good.
His work ethic
He's just not 6 foot.
is incredible.
It's just 'cause he's
His
not tall.
capacity to do the right thing over an extended period of time.
He's a real compact guy. Like, there's guys like that I'm like, why
There's
are we not
there's some
pushing
really good receivers coming up. Not even just this year, but
Got a Marion
yeah.
coming up.
I was talking about him yesterday yesterday, and his because I saw it with Banks yesterday, the transfer from Wake. Body control.
Yeah, it's unreal.
His body control is sensational, and yeah, he can high point a ball, but it's the ability to. And it's an underappreciated skill set. You just know what it is when you see it. Your ability to manipulate your body when you're in the air.
You know what he is? He is like the high school version of Keenan Allen. Like, not a burner.
Yeah. So
fast.
One of the reasons why I kind of gravitate towards him is because but he reminds me a lot of Caleb.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about what he isn't.
Right.
Mhm.
Yep.
It doesn't look like
He's
this,
really
or it doesn't look like that.
Put the tape on. It's there.
Yeah, he and he's tough.
Yep.
He's
not afraid to go to the middle. None of that. Yeah.
He's tough.
Right.
Like that's my.
It's funny.
Just like Timex, man. He keeps coming.
It's
Take
funny.
That one catch that he made that people said wasn't a catch against you guys.
Oh, it wasn't. I didn't
certainly
say
not
it.
a
It was
catch.
not a
saying
catch.
it wasn't. That was pretty good play.
How about how he came back in the game 3 plays later after getting
smoked,
mollywopped?
No, it was an incredible catch. It just wasn't an actual catch. I was there. I
Extended the drive once they scored points on, but that's
only drive they scored points.
One of the 3.
It's not. Let's move
one
on.
of the 3 touchdowns.
Hey, I
he
do
gave
like.
up all year.
I do like Carter Glab. I think he's going to be good.
No, it's funny that you bring up body control because I was literally
shout out Owen James in that same class.
I don't even know why I was thinking about it this morning on the drive in, but I was thinking about the difference between the different types of athleticism. Right? We mostly think about explosiveness as athleticism, but body control is athleticism.
And it's one of
Balance.
the more it's one of the
balance,
more
body control, same thing.
underappreciated things in all of sports.
Not just balance, but the ability to repeat the same motion.
Well-
That's why I say, like, Steph Curry's an incredible athlete. He's not an explosive athlete, but his ability to repeat his body motion over and over and over again and control his body is unparalleled.
You know why? Because you can't measure it in underwear Olympics.
Right. But that's
why.
that's explosive athleticism, right? That still counts and is still a thing,
Mhm.
but it's because we can't quantify.
There's no way to put a number
can't
on it.
quantify
Like you can't
body
40 in the
control.
vertical and all that.
We can't quantify balance. We can't quantify repeatability of movement.
Mhm.
It's really hard to appreciate those guys. But that's what you're talking about with like a Jamal Banks. That's what you're talking about with Caleb. That's what you're talking about with Keenan Allen.
And I'm
Guys
telling-
that can manipulate
Well,
their body.
Wait till you see Nair.
Yeah.
If that dude's healthy, dude, his arms. What am I? 5'11" and some change. His arms are probably 70 inches.
Yeah.
Like he rolled his pads up yesterday, and like I felt like I this is so childish, but I immediately thought of John Fanta the other day when he said touch grass. Go. He's like, if you think such go touch grass.
You felt
Like
you
I
could
felt like
touch
Nair,
grass
I felt like he could touch grass without bending at the knees. I'm dead serious.
could tie his shoes without leaning over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's a good get right there.
Those guys are useful.
Yeah, if you're healthy, yeah, I can see your catch radius is
Pretty good.
is fantastic. But I do agree, especially like at the high school level. It's one of the things that I like about CJ at Christian. First of all, knock on wood, like nothing's ever wrong with him.
Right.
Like
He's never like hurt so much where he's
right.
whatever.
And his ability, like I watch him, like it's very deliberate. It's intentional.
Yeah.
Right? He can put his body in positions that hurt most people,
Mhm.
but he stretches and practices doing that. So a ball could be behind him or above his head, and he doesn't look awkward, even though he's probably 216 pounds right now, 18 pounds or whatever. And it's like it looks okay. Those are the kinds of things that I like about wide receiver play, and he's not going to be a wide receiver, but like Amarion and some of these guys like that, like Prince,
Yeah. He can go
Deshaun.
get it, yeah.
It's not the fact that he can high point a ball; it's his body control
Mhm.
in traffic.
adjustments
He's
quick, too.
extremely gifted when his feet aren't on the ground.
And
And
that's
he can make
hard to
adjustments in
do.
the air
Yeah.
like hard,
Yeah.
which is very
So it's
hard
not
to do.
just high pointing; it's the ability to go get it.
Is Christian Jones, does he have a private jet or how are we doing all that? Is
This-
he ever at school? Is he
We're
on
on.
the homeschool
First of
plan?
all, we're on spring break.
Oh,
Second of all,
I was just wondering because that dude's everywhere.
yeah. So they're not afraid. They drive.
What?
They
I'm sorry, what?
they put a lot of miles on.
Wow.
I'm serious.
Yeah, I ain't that guy. That's what I'm saying.
So we were at Iowa last year,
Mhm.
and everybody's saying their goodbyes. It's late. It's I don't know. It's 4:00, right? And if I'm not with DJ, I'm probably not going,
Mhm.
right? But he
Yeah.
doesn't mind driving, even though he's got his own time machine. But the Dave Christian's parents were leaving. I was like, hey, drive safe. It's another whatever it was during it. We're 4 hours, Iowa City, wherever. Like now we're heading up to Wisconsin. I was like, from here? And the weather was miserable, but that's the first thing
Yeah.
that I thought. I was like, why?
That's not that far. That's only like 3.5 hours.
Bro, we had already been on the road for we'd
know,
been gone a day.
That's only right there.
You're just gonna knock it out?
Yeah.
Look at that Pierce Mooberry's like his travel schedule. I was like, man, I don't know. That
Yeah.
it ain't fun.
Not trying to do that.
It's like
Not trying to do that.
Chris Mooberry, the best player at Illinois.
I'm not gonna. I've been a Pierce
That's
Mooberry
why
guy
I've said that.
I've been
I don't know how
From a
I feel.
prospect, he's-
I'm biased because
Prospect-wise,
his
everything's good.
sister was
I mean, Vermont
was
is
my
great.
daughter's roommate at Wesleyan, and I like I love the family, but I don't. I have to watch more.
Yeah, Vermont is great. He's great. He's a great athlete.
Yeah, really, really
runs
good.
all
I'm just
that
glad
stuff.
they're not on our schedule
There's like
early.
well, you'd rather play him early, probably.
No.
Than late. When
Mm-mm.
you?
You have no
Well,
idea. What they're
not
gonna be.
you guys. I'm
Yeah,
saying,
you have no
no
idea.
idea what they're going to be.
You have no idea what they're getting
Yeah.
I'd rather have the chance to prepare.
Or like, but at the same time,
100%.
they haven't.
No idea what they're going to
They need maybe
A
game or
quarterback.
two to
Yeah, I
get
get it.
into-
I get all that. I get all
like,
that.
And you guys have new.
I'm not gonna
a lot of new faces too.
I'm not going to argue, though, that Pierce is – I mean, I've been a Pierce guy forever. I saw him as a sophomore. I was like, yep, that's my dude. That's a guy that I've,
It's
banged.
gonna be a fun year. Although I get it, right? I mean,
Another guy,
you have
2025
you have
you're
a
talking about.
prohibitive faith, but like I think it will be a very, very good year. A lot of coaches on redemption tours. A lot of guys see Bulls. Like, it'll be fun.
Coming up next, let's get into a little transfer portal with Mike Sautter here, see what Nebraska's got potentially coming in here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We'll be right.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill on the Pillar Exterior stage, we've got DB, myself, and Mike Sautter for another segment. Wanted to get into a little bit of what's going on with Nebraska basketball. They got a couple big commitments from guys that are already on the team that are coming back next year. Maybe the two most important guys in Juwan Gary and Bryce Williams. That's a huge lift for Nebraska.
Yeah, Bryce is their best player.
I agree.
Last year, their most important player
Mhm.
is Rink Mast, which is still
Up in the air.
to be determined. I feel pretty good though that if he is going to play college basketball again, it'll be in Lincoln.
Yeah, he's either playing in Lincoln or he's playing in Europe. Those are the options.
Netherlands or Germany or something is where he'll play. But they got to, the knee thing is an issue there. Like I feel like there's some,
For Rink?
yeah.
Mhm.
Like I think
Why he's been so below the rim out over time?
Yeah,
the second half of the
there
season.
may be some cleanup and stuff they got to do there.
A
So
little scope.
yeah, something. I mean, they did that, in January. So I wonder if there's more to it or not. If he doesn't come back, then you definitely need like Andrew Morgan, the guy from North Dakota State that they had on campus yesterday. Today's Friday. Wait, Wednesday. So he would be a nice piece. He's not the answer, right? The answer to the post is William Kyle.
Mhm.
Like he's absolutely
And Nebraska's still
he's
involved there.
yeah, he's absolutely a number one and
Yes.
for that. Yeah, very much so involved. Yes. So
Just asking the question.
yeah,
I'm not saying anything. You don't have to give me up. I'm just
he's very
I'm
very
just
much so
I'm just
involved.
nodding.
I mean, he was just there on Monday.
Not everybody's on the stream, Ravi.
He was just there on Monday and
Cam, this is what I got to put up with.
What you got to put up with.
These guys
the,
hate me.
the one that
He said, shoot.
in my
Ravi said, try being me.
this is just my opinion, but I think the one to look out for William Kyle is Iowa State.
Yeah.
They were in on Tuesday morning. Wake Forest is also very much so in. They really liked that conversation they had on Friday with Coach Forbes. But Iowa
Boy,
State,
would his household love to see him be able to play. So I think proximity is going to end up
think that's
mattering.
a huge thing. Unless UConn entered the fray
Anything
here.
you want to say? Or
No, I'm just saying.
No,
I'd
they
want to
do.
see my kids play.
Yeah, I think it's important for them to be able to see him play.
Sure.
a lot.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I really do. So, but UConn entered the fray on Monday. So,
Don't give me that look. I'm not even paying you any mind.
I mean, if UConn,
Yeah.
I mean, so, but
You got remember.
yeah, you definitely need to take that conversation. Though,
You do.
and all
You're like
that.
you're not
Like,
picking up the phone, but you have
right.
to remember their personality,
Yeah.
the family's
I
personality
do
too.
think I will say I very much so agree with you. I think that the being closer to home,
Extremely grounded.
Yeah.
Like he's never been a frill guy.
Right.
They're very, very grassrooty.
Yeah. Same thing. Frankie Fiddler.
That's
I
kind of why I
believe.
love him.
Frankie Fiddler cut his list of 4.
Yeah,
Michigan State
Michigan
was a little bit of the surprise. In
Yeah, Michigan State, Wisconsin,
for obvious reasons. Wisconsin,
Creighton, and
Creighton, and Nebraska.
Nebraska.
I think at the end of the day, it comes down to Creighton and Nebraska.
As do I.
So, and it's
As do I, young Michael Jerome.
So which one's a better fit?
for Frankie.
Yes.
Well, Frankie's a better CJ Wilcher.
Right.
Is he a better overall basketball player?
That's why him hitting the
than
portal didn't really surprise me because I felt like that was always going to be a
CJ?
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like on
if he wants a
the
bigger
only
role,
so my only real surprise why I would be like
Jamarcus.
would be Lawrence.
Yeah.
I was surprised by Jamarcus.
Yeah, I was.
I could see
surprised by that.
Kada. I could see Jop.
Those
So,
guys were
like,
really
Jamarcus
good.
was the only one.
Yeah.
Lawrence surprised me.
Yeah, that one. I think maybe he wants a bigger role or something. I don't know. Same thing with CJ Wilcher. Like I think he for his last year probably wants to play more and be a guy more and
Yeah.
stuff. So probably have to.
How
maybe
good of a
put him-
teammate must he have been though?
Very good.
To be Johnny on the spot,
Yeah.
never knowing when that spot was going to
Yeah.
be, but
Yeah.
to answer the dinner
That's
bell.
that's a hard role to ask somebody to
Yeah?
play.
Well-
And it's a hard role to play well.
So back to Fiddler though.
Oh,
like,
that's I wouldn't know anything about that.
I think he
That's new. What is that?
everything
like?
always comes back to
No, no.
football.
No.
Never heard of it.
Personality traits.
Everything always comes back to football. out
But
here.
it's a football
So
state.
fiddler.
Fiddler.
Fit as a fiddler.
Fit.
Fiddler.
I can't. Now
I was making a joke.
I was gonna say a different F word there for a minute. but-
So that's
I bring that out and people.
yeah. I was gonna say you're just baiting this dude to have the Cam panic over the dumb button. He's
And-
gonna have to put out his grit and hit the button. I was like, come
Cam,
on, man.
Cam, you know where the dumb button is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And if
Just in
and-
case.
you know, and if
Shoulda
you
asked that
spoke
before.
to me,
You got him practice. He's like, I'm like, no, no, don't do it.
Frankie. Fiddler.
the
Fit.
yeah.
So what do you think happens
Anyway.
with happens with Morgan?
I think it's probably. I mean, feel good about Nebraska being that. Feels like there's a lot of Nebraska could be very.
NDSU just doesn't strike me as the type of school that should be a
getting
breeding
coached all
ground.
the time.
Yes,
Why not?
because of the respect that I have for the
Coach,
institution,
It is
football and
It's
basketball.
fine, but it's a smaller school. Like that's gonna
I
happen.
mean, they got Omaha got two of their guys to transfer too. So guard and kind of backup post guy too. So
It's a lot of guards on the open market.
right, Nebraska needs
It's a lot of guards
I feel like guards are
Creighton
the
definitely probably needs
wide
one, too.
receivers of
and
the
good
basketball.
good ones.
Yeah.
Right, Creighton needs you got to
2-3 a wing,
yeah,
somewhere in there.
What do you think? Where do you think Doster lands?
I don't know. It's a good question. Now,
Because that was interesting recruiting to begin with.
Right.
Because
If-
Creighton was his best offer.
By a mile.
if I am him and I haven't spoken to him,
And coincidentally, you've never been him.
no,
by the way.
but
As far as we can tell.
if they were asking me
he,
for
he is him.
if
Oh,
they
you're
were
him-
asking
you're
me
him.
for my opinion, I would say go to Omaha. and
Me,
be a-
too.
and be a
That's
stud.
what
Be
Ravi
a
said.
stud at Omaha.
That's what Ravi
Like,
said.
What I would do
And he would
Then I-
allow them to play fast too.
because he's a straight line driver. Like
Oh, yeah.
he's really good at that. So and they do want to play fast. I think if I'm him, that's what I would do. I know schools from all over have reached out, and he's open to anybody. Like I mean, one of the schools that reached out was Fullerton. I mean, that's not close to home. So
Yeah, but they do. There's a connection,
right, yeah. So it's one of those like, where does he?
and he has a
what
unique
is-
social life too, being
Right, yeah.
married,
He's gonna
Engaged?
Be, gonna be
engaged. Yeah, gonna be
married this summer.
gonna be married.
Yeah. So it's that one's a little bit different, right? So do you want to stay? And that family's so close, right? So you're
That's kind of why I would be surprised if he went very far.
yeah.
But
could-
you're talking about a family that drives to DC every year. They don't care.
I could see
Different
Hey,
when you're
let's-
trying to watch him 20 times a year, though.
I could
Picture
see
me
like
rolling.
like a South Dakota State or something.
Did they
that
take
needs
like a
guard.
charter bus? Like, what do they?
Listen, man, it's
They
an
don't all
amazing
go to the same
family.
thing.
Oh, okay. It's like a caravan.
It's unbelievable. I don't know if they have like,
There's 100 of them.
and I'm telling you, that is a tight. They roll deep.
No, yeah, they're real tight.
I like
Yeah.
Mob Deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go like his AU games. There would be like 17 of them there, and I'm like,
Well,
wow,
they have a
this-
whole section at Creighton games.
Yeah.
They
So
need
we're-
a whole section of Creighton games.
It's like, wow,
Yeah.
it's 32 over there. It's a lot.
In high school games, I would go up there and mess with them. Like, this is adults their area.
Hey,
I'm just saying
tell me he doesn't look just like Dannon.
LeBron?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's what you see him in.
Oh, a little bit.
Listen, dead ringer.
He just had this realization.
Yeah. I didn't think about
Hey,
that.
dead ringer.
It's the first thing you said.
I was like, what the?
You're like, is that?
Here's another.
Have they been in the same room?
Something else with the portal. Like people need to maybe calm down a little bit here. Now spots are going to start filling up. Like guys are going to need to start making decisions here pretty soon because people are
the draft analysis is screwing up some things too.
Correct, and because it's such a weird draft, that's not. There isn't like, oh yes, boom,
dudes.
Like this, so we're
first 4 or 5 may have not have played in college,
right? And
probably
like guys for that, like Hunter South, where does he land in that? Like feel pretty good about the fact that he's likely gonna declare for the draft, and he should this year because
how sneaky good of a get would St. Thomas be?
I love St. Thomas.
For what?
I just love to hear you say that.
For what do you mean? The draft?
No.
Oh, somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got big options. Like money and all that. Like big options. So, and there's going to be coaching changes still happening because trickle-down effect of USC.
Yeah, I don't understand the SMU. I got the SMU ACC thing, but for NFL, I was like, that's weird.
Don't worry, that's a topic we'll probably have to wait to get till next week because it's been on my prep sheet for a week and a half.
Great.
But
there's still going to be more transfer portal stuff because of the coaching changes.
What is Oates thinking?
Dude, right? Yeah. We've got Matt Vrzal coming up next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. We'll see what he's thinking. We're wrapping up the show here on a Friday, wrapping up the week on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln, SDB. I'm Ravi, Lulla, Mike Sautter here with us here on the Pillar Exterior stage, and we are joined by Matt Vrzal. Verz, how are you this morning?
Good, boys. How are you?
Matthew Aloysius, how we doing, buddy?
The show is causing me like a lot of issues.
Oh God, here we go.
Why
now, Matt? Air your grievances.
If Ravi's just going to get on and whine about Creighton not being physical, and then my buddy's got to whine about him, whining about that, it just causes strain in my life I don't need. Like, I don't know what he expected to happen.
Ravi,
yeah,
what did you
expect?
You know the
definition of insanity, right?
Yeah, it's actually not the definition of insanity. It's just a thing people say, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
But
look, Sautter was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get out of this one."
It might be time for me to go watch some baseball.
No, Verz, it's a fair point. I think I would like to see, and this is not a Creighton problem in general, although it stems from my Creighton fandom. I can acknowledge that. I would like to see a game officiated in a more freedom of movement friendly way.
There we go.
The mean referees are getting you guys.
I'm
not fair. Referees are biased against us, Joe.
No, I don't think they're biased against us. I think it's a bad college basketball product.
You limit the way we play. This is like I watched a lot of baseball lately.
Yeah.
And umpires favoring the outside corner, and everybody bitching about it. And I uttered, it was at the school out south toward the east in Lincoln. They come with the bat. Everybody's bitching that this umpire is consistently calling the outside corner. Kid comes up. I don't know the kid from Job. I don't know where his parents are. I don't give two F's. I was like, hey, bud, the whole right side of the field is open. So when he throws you this outside pitch, just hit it to the right. Little buddy gets up there, double. I'm like, wow, what a novel concept. I adjusted to how the official was calling the game.
Hey, I would love if Creighton had the ability to do that. I really would. I would love it if they could match physicality. I would love it.
There's the truth of it.
No, I would love it if they could match
the game.
I would love it if they could match physicality because you're right. I don't think it was biased. It's just not how I prefer basketball to be stylistically. But if that's how it's called, you would love it if the team you're rooting for could adjust to the physicality. I'm not going to argue with you on that.
Hey, Matt.
That's why I just don't root for people.
Hey, that's because I think your friends that whine about me hear what they want to hear. They hear, oh, he's a Creighton guy. He's complaining about officiating. What I just said to you, which it doesn't sound like you have a problem with, is almost verbatim what I said on air.
Yeah, it's just kind of your delivery, though.
Well, yeah, I come off as super pretentious and condescending. I know that. That's fine.
Hey, we just talked about this last. No, he pulled his headset off.
Left.
We just talked about your delivery. I was with Aaron Taylor last night at the Jet Awards, and
hey, thanks for the invite.
Oh my gosh, is it always something, dude? Do you need a hug? Do you need a hug?
Do I not invite you to almost everything that I do?
Yes, I'm sorry, man. I don't do the invite list. I apologize. I just was struggling to get through it, man. If you'd have been a fly on the wall the last 48 hours,
Burrs, he's just the MC. He doesn't have any power in the situation at all.
Wow,
All right.
wow, just greyhounded me all over the place, huh? Okay,
Did any of your jokes bomb?
okay. I didn't really tell any.
No, it was a
Yeah,
nice
dude.
mix. I will admit it was
You're the MC. You got to tell a joke, dude.
it was a nice mix of being humorous without like trying to do stand up. I thought it was good.
Thank you, Maddie. We talked about this very thing. Listen, see, Ravi, don't feel alone. You've seen him do it to me. Aaron Taylor, he was so funny last night. He was like, basically, we described your personality about being kind of this not bully, but kind of mean-spirited, a little snarky. And he goes, "You're afraid to hang out with me and come to Plattsmouth, but you'll spend all your free time with Vrzal. Like, thanks for being a good friend. Like, why would you want to spend time with that guy?" And I was like, you know what? I think I got to give that some serious thought. Like, why do I talk to this guy?
I will bite my tongue on this, but yeah, why don't you head down to Plattsmouth and let me know how that goes?
I'll bite my tongue, but I really won't.
Yeah.
I know that dude is off the grid too. He was trying to describe where he lives. I was like, yeah, but no. How about I meet you at Bogarts or Bogarts?
Actually, I tell you what, Damon, I will buy you a GoPro for when you go down there. You just strap that baby on. I'll get you the chest mount. You just strap that thing right on your chest, and you go down there, and you let me know how that goes.
Hey, will you get me the chest mount because I can't carry your vacuum cleaner, like, or you don't want me to have the GoPro like strapped to my head?
Well, it's just for the safety of the equipment and you. We'll get you the.
You're an idiot.
Check.
Hey, so I watched a couple of your guys close yesterday. What do you think the ceiling is for Justin Evans? Because he looks really good.
Yeah, he's got great feet. Like he moves real well. You know, you'd like him to be another couple inches taller, but he's not. So you just have to deal with what you got. And listen, what we're looking for in this offensive line is athleticism and cohesion. Okay, is your buddy's success more important than yours? If the answer to that is yes, great. Can you move your feet and can you maintain position? That's it. If they can do those things, 8 wins, 9 wins is real.
Mm-hmm.
If they go out and they struggle with those things, now we've got some other things to discuss. And it's just, Harbaugh said it. Everybody thinks that guy's a weirdo. He is a football guy.
Mm-hmm.
The offensive line room is the only room on the team that doesn't need you. We don't need you. You are irrelevant to us. If we are right, the team is good. If we are wrong, it's going to be a long season.
I was talking to
that's crap. Like people think I say that in hyperbole, like, oh, he's being dramatic, whatever. That's reality. Find me a team that doesn't have an offensive line that's good. They just don't exist.
So, you know, the funny thing about that is, and this is right in your wheelhouse, because I was talking to Dom about this after practice because he was kind of babysitting.
Oh, you went down to practice and just didn't invite me. Okay.
Oh, my gosh. Matt.
Hey, who do we call to get passes? I'm going to go down there.
Focus.
I'm going to go down on my own, but
no, just Coach. We'll talk later.
I don't have his number, Damon. I don't have a child going down there to play that I know of.
Hey, by the way, wow. Okay, I'm gonna cut you off. Number one, that was the relationship was pre my child. We maintained a relationship even when the child thing was in limbo. Number three, man.
You don't have to defend it.
Number three, zip it for a second. Okay. Okay. So we were just.
Hey, I'm going to talk to Sabir. I'm going to MC that thing next year. Me and you.
This dude. So
Ebony and I agreed.
We kind of agreed that he's kind of their future of that center position, right? You're kind of watching Ben Scott, and he's kind of been the guy, and he stabilized them in the middle. But man, couldn't you see Justin Evans like being a pretty good, a really good center for them?
I know where you're headed. Yes, I could, but I got to see Sammy Sledge move.
Yeah.
So now you can create a luxury, right? If you look at Sledge, and Sledge looks way athletic, then you just say, all right, Sledge, you're going to play guard. Evans Jenkins, you're going to be the guy that runs the show. But if Sledge is in there and you're still looking for the alpha of alphas, you're looking for a guy that can get all the calls, he can get everybody calmed down, he can get everybody hyped up, he can be that guy. Now, you can, thankfully, more in college football, now they're pulling the center. So maybe they're looking for the best athlete to be a non-tackle that's a center. So, I'd like to see them both just kind of operate, which – when I go down to practice by myself, I'll check that out.
Yeah, they're oh boy. Yeah. So like that group though, like, and Sledge can go anywhere from left guard to center to right guard, and I think be just fine. And I think that's kind of what they want in the grand scheme of things with the interior O-line. Do you get that feel? They look fantastic.
But it's not. I mean, that's not. That expectation, although daunting, shouldn't be that crazy of an idea, right?
Yeah.
If we go back to and I think it helps build. We always say we want a football guy, right? We want a football guy. If you go back to when you're 6'1" and 320 pounds, we all knew all three positions. So it's needed. You have to have those. Then, when you get your reps at guard, guess who else you have to know what they're doing? The tackle. So you might as well learn their job too. And then look, at us go. We got everybody's position down. Easy. Like I think saying I am a this or I'm a that. I'm not saying you're saying that. I am a center. I am a guard. That just doesn't go anymore. Like you got to be a football guy. You got to understand all the concepts for all the pieces, especially on the offensive line.
What do you think ultimately, and we're up against it, that Turner ends up? Does he hold it down at left tackle? Teddy looks fantastic. Do they move him inside? And what do you think happens with Corcoran?
Man, I'm gonna have to see that dude in person.
Yeah,
I got to get a feel for his vibe, because his vibe last year in them games wasn't very good.
I got you. Be good, Matty.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he can be much better. Yeah, we'll see you. Good to talk to you.
Bye.
Thanks for not inviting me anywhere. I had best friend who I gave pastrami and aluminum foil to.
See you, Verse.
See you, boys.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio next week.
Fudge.